Hello, fellow sapiens, and welcome. Today, we're about to uncover one of the greatest stories ever told. Imagine waking up one morning over 11,000 years ago and realizing that the world you know is disappearing. It's not a gradual change or a distant threat, but something happening right now. The ground beneath your feet seems to tremble with the weight of impending change, and the distant horizon is swallowed by a relentless rising tide. The oceans, which you have always known to retreat and return with the seasons, are now advancing with a force you cannot understand, nor can you outrun. This is how life began to unravel for early humans. People who had lived for generations in the shadow of towering cliffs, along fertile coasts and across vast river plains. A people who relied on the bounty of nature, lived in harmony with the rhythms of the seasons, and walked in step with the land. And now, all of it, everything they knew, was about to vanish beneath the waves. It's hard to imagine a world without the conveniences we know today, without the comforting hum of technology and the safety nets of modern civilization. But 11,600 years ago, the world was a vast expanse of wild land, untamed and unpredictable. Early humans, the ancestors of the people who would eventually build great cities and form complex societies, had a far different relationship with nature. You might find yourself walking through a dense forest, your breath mingling with the crisp, clean air of the morning. The sounds of wildlife, birds calling, the rustle of small creatures in the underbrush, fill the silence. Towering trees line your path, their thick trunks and endless canopy standing as sentinels in a world of raw beauty. The ground beneath your feet is solid, steady, and familiar. Every season, you know what to expect. The rhythm of hunting, gathering, and the gradual cycles of life. But then, the world is about to change. Picture yourself standing by the shore, looking out at the calm, endless sea. It's the same sea your ancestors have known for countless generations. You know its tides and rhythms like the back of your hand, but this time something is different. The waves are coming higher than usual. At first it's subtle, a few inches more than normal. But as the years pass, the change becomes undeniable. What was once a fishing ground is now covered in water. The beach, once a place for your children to play, is narrowing. Each year, the land you once thought of as your home becomes a little smaller, a little more foreign. The tides no longer retreat. They come and they stay. The world you have always known is fading into something else, something you cannot control. In this time, people didn't build permanent homes. There were no cities, no sprawling urban centres. Instead, your ancestors lived in small mobile groups, travelling with the seasons. They hunted, they gathered, and they moved. There was no need for settled towns because the land provided everything they needed. Each day was an opportunity to discover something new, a new hunting ground, a new place to gather wild plants. People moved in harmony with the environment, never outstaying their welcome in any one place. The cycle of life was marked by migration, by following the herds of animals across vast plains, by tracking the growth of fruits and vegetables with the changing seasons. These were the early days of humanity, untouched by the permanent structures that would later define civilizations. And as the sea began to rise, so too did the pressure to adapt. The familiar lands began to change. As you walk with your people along the coastline, you notice something strange. The water has begun to creep up the shore inch by inch. You think nothing of it at first, just another cycle in nature's ever-turning wheel. But then, the water doesn't recede as it should. Instead, it inches closer, day by day. You hear the elders speak in hushed voices of stories passed down through generations, tales of floods and storms, of lands that once were and are no more. The ocean, once a dependable rhythm, has become an unpredictable force, and it's taking everything with it. The world in which early humans lived was nothing short of magnificent. Expansive forests stretch for miles, brimming with wildlife, while rivers snaked their way through valleys, providing life to both plants and animals alike. Great herds of woolly mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant ground sloths roamed the land, living in harmony with the humans who shared their world. The air was thick with the scent of pine and fresh earth, the sound of rustling leaves and distant animal calls. But life was not without its dangers. In this wild world, humans had to be constantly aware. Every day was a challenge, not only to find food, but to stay one step ahead of the predators that roamed the same land. The mighty mammoth might have been a source of meat, but it was also a formidable force to be reckoned with if angered. The saber-toothed cat, with its enormous fangs and swift movements, was an ever-present threat. And yet, despite these challenges, early humans had developed a remarkable bond with the land. They knew how to read the signs of the weather, when to gather, when to hunt, and when to move. They had learned the rhythms of nature and adapted to survive. But then the land began to shift beneath their feet. The seas, once steady, became unpredictable, threatening to erase everything that had once seemed so certain. It wasn't just a slow, steady rise of the sea, as you might imagine. No, this was something far more catastrophic. The world was changing faster than anyone could keep up with. The ice sheets that had covered vast swaths of the earth were beginning to melt, sending rivers of water into the oceans. But it wasn't just the gradual melting. No, the world was being flooded in pulses, each one more devastating than the last. Imagine standing on the shore watching the horizon and realizing that the water, which had always been a distant friend, was now your greatest enemy. It was as if the world itself had decided to change, to reclaim the land it had once given to humanity. The signs were everywhere. Once stable hunting grounds were now submerged, and the great rivers, once so reliable, now surged out of their banks. People fled to higher ground, but the water followed. The land they had called home for generations was swallowed up by an unrelenting force. What would you do in such a moment? The sea is rising, and there's no place left to go, no higher ground to flee to. The once dependable coastline was no more. The very land that had sustained generations was vanishing, and with it, your way of life. In the midst of this cataclysmic event, humanity's survival instincts were tested. Small groups of people, displaced from their homes, began to travel further inland, seeking refuge in territories that were once considered secondary, less desirable. What had once been considered the edge of the world had now become their last refuge, and as the waters continued to rise, they had no choice but to adapt or perish. This wasn't just the end of a way of life, it was the beginning of something entirely new. The survivors would forge a new world, one where their relationship with the land, the seas, and each other would never be the same. The world had been irrevocably changed, and so too would humanity. What was once a species bound by the cycles of nature was now faced with a new challenge, the need to rebuild from the ruins, to create something lasting in a world that seemed determined to wipe away all traces of the past. As we begin this journey through time, take a moment to imagine yourself in this world. Feel the shift beneath your feet, the rising water, the uncertainty that grips your heart. But know this, The people who lived through this, they survived, and they rebuilt. The survivors, their lives shattered and their world unrecognizable, began to move in haste, seeking what little shelter they could find, grasping for a sense of normalcy amidst chaos. The landscape they once knew had become a labyrinth of flooded plains, river valleys turned into vast churning seas. The earth, once so solid and dependable, was now unpredictable and treacherous. The air, once crisp and fresh, now carried with it the heavy scent of salt water, the taste of moisture that seeped into every fibre of their existence. The world was unfamiliar, and the comfort of the known had long disappeared. They moved inland in small, scattered groups, forming a fragile unity. Each group carried only what they could salvage: tools, weapons, the few remnants of their lives before the water took it all. As they travelled, the remnants of their once thriving settlements were left behind. The sacred grounds where they had buried their ancestors, now consumed by the sea, the hunting grounds where they had once tracked bison, deer, and mammoths, now submerged beneath waves that rolled relentlessly forward. The shelters they had crafted from stone and wood, those homes where children had been born and families had laughed, now nothing more than distant memories swallowed whole by the ocean. The survivors were left with only the clothes on their backs, the food they carried, and their will to endure. As you walk with your people, you feel the earth beneath your feet shift with each step, the soil heavy and damp, reluctant to give way to your footfalls. The air grows thicker with each passing hour, heavy with the scent of wet earth, rotting wood, and the faint trace of salt that clings to your skin. The sound of the waves crashing against the distant shore is ever present, but it is no longer a calming rhythm. Now it is a reminder of everything that has been lost, a reminder that the sea still claims everything in its path. The group trudges onward, navigating through unfamiliar terrain. You're no longer walking along familiar paths, no longer tracing the route your ancestors had walked for generations. Instead, you find yourself pushing through dense forests, the underbrush thick and twisted, and the trees towering high above, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal arms. The leaves rustle in the wind, a sound that once would have been comforting, but now it seems distant, foreign, as if the forest itself is no longer the place of safety it once was. Each step you take brings you further into unknown territory, further from the coastlines that were once your home. You are no longer bound by the sea's ebb and flow, no longer tied to the rhythms of the tides. Instead, you move through a world of highland plateaus and deep valleys, where the terrain is as uncertain as your future. The air grows colder as the day stretches on, and you begin to wonder if your people will ever find solid ground again. The journey seems endless, the exhaustion settling deep into your bones, but you push on because there is no choice. Your group stops for the night in a clearing beneath towering pines. The fire crackles and pops in the centre, its warmth offering a fleeting comfort against the cold that sets in as the sun dips below the horizon. The stars above seem distant, unreachable. There is no moon tonight, and the darkness feels deeper, more oppressive than it ever did before. You sit by the fire, the heat of the flames kissing your face, but there is little warmth in your heart. The stories of your ancestors seem like echoes now, their voices swallowed by the rising sea. The songs sung around campfires are now replaced by silence. As you look into the fire, you can almost hear the distant voices of those who lived before, those who had known the world before the flood. They had lived their lives, and their lives had been rich with meaning and purpose. They had left behind something tangible, something real. And now, as you sit by the fire, you wonder, will your descendants look back at this moment and remember the lives you lived, the world you knew? As the days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months, your journey inland grows more arduous. The landscape, once familiar, now feels like a series of strange alien places. The terrain is uneven, jagged. The mountains that rise in the distance seem to close in around you, a wall of stone that once stood as a natural barrier, but now feels like a suffocating presence. The rivers, once your guide and lifeline, have swollen, their currents angry and unpredictable. What was once a gentle stream is now a raging torrent, its water carrying with it the detritus of the world it swallowed. Logs, rocks, the remnants of what was once solid ground now float freely, pushed along by the violent surge. The landscape is changing even more rapidly than you can comprehend. You pass through a dense forest, the trees so tightly packed that the sky is barely visible through the canopy. The forest is alive with sound, but it is not the familiar sound of animals you once knew. Instead, the cries of unfamiliar creatures fill the air, high-pitched calls from the treetops, strange rustlings in the underbrush. The wildlife seems different now, as if the floodwaters have brought with them new creatures that do not belong to the world you once knew. You push on, knowing that there is no going back. There is only the next step and then the next. Every day feels like a journey into the unknown. You've lost track of how many days have passed since you left the coastline, since the sea took everything. Your body aches, your feet are sore from the endless walking, and your stomach is growling with hunger. Yet you press on, driven by the instinct to survive, to find something better, something stable, something solid to build the future upon. Despite the hardships of the journey, you begin to notice something remarkable as you travel deeper inland. The land, though unfamiliar and strange, is full of potential. The soil is rich and fertile in some areas, a far cry from the salty, waterlogged earth you left behind. The rivers, though swollen, still contain fish, and the forests are teeming with wildlife, game that can be hunted, berries and plants that can be gathered. It's not the world you once knew, but it is a world that offers hope, however faint. Your people begin to adapt. Slowly they begin to build new homes, simpler, less permanent than those they left behind. They learn to live with the land, to use its resources in new ways. They hunt and gather, but they also begin to experiment. Some of the elders, who had once been known for their knowledge of the old ways, begin to speak of something new, cultivating the land, planting seeds, ensuring a stable food supply. At first it is a tentative effort, a small seed planted in the ground, watered and watched carefully. But the plants grow, they bear fruit, and with that simple act, something changes within your people. The idea of permanence, the idea of settling down begins to take root. You and your people find ways to preserve what you can. As you move from place to place, you begin to store food more effectively, using the knowledge passed down by your elders. The techniques of preservation that once seemed unnecessary, dried meats, smoked fish, grains, are now essential for survival. One morning, as the group gathers for the day's journey, you notice something that hadn't been there before, a small, deliberate circle of stone. It's nothing grand, nothing permanent, but it's there. It is the beginning of something new, a sign of hope and change. Your people are starting to build something, even if it's only a small shelter for the night. The work is slow, but it's steady, and it is a reminder that survival is not just about enduring. It's about adapting, about finding ways to thrive in a world that has been irrevocably altered. In the distance you see smoke rising from a distant hill. A new camp, perhaps, or a settlement. Your heart quickens as you realize that your people, despite everything that's been lost, are beginning to create something that could last. They're building again, using the lessons of the past, but also creating something new, something that could endure. The flood has changed the world, but it hasn't destroyed it. The smoke rises higher, curling into the sky like a beacon, a symbol of life reborn from the ashes of a drowned world. Your group quickens its pace, the tiredness of the long journey forgotten for the moment, replaced by a rush of anticipation. The days of wandering through desolation, the sense of loss that had weighed so heavily on your people, begin to feel like a distant memory, washed away by the sheer force of this new direction. The earth beneath your feet, though still damp and soft from the past days of travel, seems sturdier now, less fragile than before. As you draw closer, the shapes of the settlement become clearer. It's small, barely more than a handful of structures at first, but it feels like a promise that there is something left to be found, something new to discover, even after everything has been lost. You see men and women working, their hands busy as they shape stone, break wood, and build shelter. Children run through the area, their laughter rising above the work of their elders. It is not the civilization that once was, but it is a beginning, a new world slowly taking shape. The scent of smoke and fresh wood mingles with the earthy aroma of the damp forest, an oddly comforting blend. The air is cool, the breeze light and refreshing, carrying with it the sounds of the forest, birds calling to one another, the rustle of leaves in the wind. It feels different here, more alive, as though the land itself is beginning to heal, or perhaps simply shifting to a new phase of existence. You can feel it in the way the wind moves, in the way the trees seem to stretch toward the sky, as if trying to reclaim something lost. The settlement is simple, but it is sturdy. You see a group of men working together, hammering stones into place to form the foundation of what will be a new shelter. There are no grand structures, no towering temples or intricately carved monuments as there once were, but the work being done is real, and it's being done with purpose. The people here, the survivors of the flood, are learning to build not just for the present, but for the future. They know that the world has changed, that the forces of nature can no longer be ignored, but they also understand that survival requires more than just running from danger. It requires creating something that can endure. The women of the settlement are just as busy, though their work is quieter, more subtle. Some are gathering wild plants, their hands deftly plucking the leaves and roots that will be used to prepare food. Others are preparing animal skins, carefully scraping away the flesh to preserve the hide for clothing and shelter. In the distance, a group of children can be seen collecting wood, their laughter ringing through the air, their excitement contagious. The sounds of their work, chopping, grinding, scraping, fill the air, creating a rhythmic pulse that is almost comforting. It is the sound of life beginning again, the sound of humanity moving forward in the face of catastrophe. You can see it in their eyes as they work, a glimmer of determination, the same fire that had burned in the eyes of your ancestors as they faced the challenges of their time. The flood may have taken everything from them, but it has also ignited a spark of resilience, a drive to rebuild, to create something lasting in a world that has become so uncertain. As you walk through the settlement, you can't help but feel a sense of awe. These are not the same people who fled from the rising waters. These are survivors, builders, people who are shaping the future with their own hands. They're creating something new, something that will stand the test of time. The fear, the uncertainty that had plagued them for so long is still there, but it has been tempered by the knowledge that they are no longer passive victims of fate. They are taking control of their own destiny. As the day fades, the light from the setting sun casts long shadows across the settlement. The air grows colder, and the fire pits in the centre of the settlement come to life. The crackling of flames, the scent of burning wood, and the warmth that radiates from the fires are a welcome relief from the chill of the night air. People gather around the fires, talking in low voices, sharing stories of the journey that brought them here, stories of survival, of loss, and of hope. The firelight flickers in the faces of those around it, casting a soft glow that illuminates their expressions. There is a sense of quiet camaraderie among the people, bond forged not just by the shared trauma of the flood, but by the shared determination to survive and rebuild. You sit by the fire, the warmth of the flames soaking into your bones, and listen to the voices around you. A woman beside you speaks of the old days, the days before the flood, when their world was whole. She speaks of the coastline, of the fishing grounds that sustained them, of the homes they had built on solid ground. Her voice trembles slightly, but there is a quiet strength in it as well. She speaks not with bitterness, but with the understanding that the flood has changed everything, that the world they once knew is gone. But in her words, there is also a sense of acceptance, a recognition that survival means adapting to the new world, not clinging to the past. You listen to the crackling of the fire, the laughter of children playing in the shadows, and the soft murmur of voices. The world may have changed, but life goes on. The firelight dances on the faces of the survivors, casting them in a golden glow, and for a moment you wonder if this is what it means to rebuild. Not just to create shelter and food, but to create a sense of community, to remember that life, no matter how fragile, is always worth living. In the days that follow, the settlement continues to grow. The people begin to work together in new ways. Where once they had relied on the land for their sustenance, now they are learning to cultivate it. Fields are cleared, seeds are planted, and soon the first signs of agriculture begin to take root. It is slow work, but it is steady, and there is a sense of pride in every harvested crop, in every row of plants that grow tall and strong. You begin to notice subtle changes in the way people think about the world. They no longer see the earth as something that simply provides for them. They see it as something they must work with, something they must care for. The land, once a source of fear and uncertainty, has become a partner in their survival, a partner that they must tend to, nurture and protect. There is talk of a new way of life emerging from the ashes of the old one. It is not the same as it was before the flood, but it is something new, something that has evolved from the experiences of the survivors. The people no longer think of themselves as victims of fate. They are masters of their own destiny, shaping their world with their hands and minds. The settlement has begun to feel like a community, a place where people support one another, where they share not just food and shelter, but knowledge and wisdom. The elders pass down their knowledge of the old ways, while the younger generation learns new skills, adapting to a world that is both familiar and foreign. One evening, as you sit by the fire, you think about the world that has been lost, the memories of the coastline, of the homes that were once built on solid ground still linger in your mind. You think about the flood, the waters that came faster than anyone could have imagined, the world that seemed to end overnight. It feels like a dream, a nightmare that you can hardly believe happened at all. And yet, here you are in this new world, surrounded by people who have endured, who have adapted, and who have found a way to survive. You think about the generations that came before you, the people who lived on this land, who passed down their stories and their knowledge. They faced their own challenges, their own struggles, and yet they endured. They survived. As you look around at the people who have come together in this new world, you realize something. They are the descendants of those same survivors. The blood that runs through their veins is the blood of those who faced the rising tide, who fought for survival when the world was falling apart. They carry with them the legacy of resilience, of perseverance, of a deep connection to the land. And in that connection, there is hope. The days grow longer as the settlement begins to take shape in earnest. The work is unrelenting, but so too is the will of your people. As you move through the settlement, you can see the collective effort manifest in every structure, every field, and every small change in the landscape. The earth, once an unpredictable force of nature, has become something manageable, something that can be tamed and cultivated, at least in part. In the distance, the horizon stretches wide, the rolling hills and forests offering a view of a world that still feels unfamiliar, but somehow less threatening. There is a deep satisfaction in the quiet work of survival, in the slow yet steady transformation of a new world being forged from the remnants of the old. You move toward the edge of the settlement, where the work has begun on what will eventually be a permanent source of food. Fields that stretch far across the landscape, their dark soil rich and promising. The land has accepted the hands that work it, the long rows of plants beginning to take root, their leaves reaching skyward like new hope. It is not much yet, but it is a start. The labour is steady, and the rhythm of life in the settlement follows the patterns of the day and night, of the sun and the stars. The people are not idle. They work from dawn until the twilight hours. The sound of tools ringing against stone, the rustling of hands through the earth, the laughter and murmur of voices filling the air, all of it forms a symphony of survival. Every task, though simple, feels like a victory in this new world. You watch as men and women gather around the fire pit, grinding the grains they've harvested with careful hands. The scent of freshly ground wheat fills the air, a sweet, earthy fragrance that stirs memories of life before the flood. There is no shame in these humble tasks, only a quiet pride in knowing that this is how a new world is built. The young children run through the settlement, their faces alight with curiosity, their feet light on the earth. Beneath them, their laughter is like a balm for the weary, a reminder that even in the midst of hardship there is still joy. The survivors of the flood may have lost everything, but they have not lost their capacity to create, to nurture, and to build something that will last. As the evening falls, the settlement quiets, but it is not a stillness of despair. Instead, it is the peace of a hard day's work done well, a respite before another day begins. The fires crackle in the centre of the settlement, casting their warm glow across the faces of those gathered. The shadows stretch long, and the night sky opens above, stars twinkling in the cool darkness. As the days pass, you begin to realize that the land too is healing. The damage wrought by the flood, the destruction that had seemed so irreversible, is not permanent. Where once the ground was barren, it now shows signs of life. The once familiar trees, now covered in new buds, begin to reclaim their place. The winds shift, bringing with them the scent of wet earth and new growth. The land is waking up, just as your people are waking up to the possibilities of the future. The rivers, swollen by the floodwaters, have begun to recede, leaving behind wide banks of silt and sediment. The waters are less turbulent now, their currents less fierce. The air, too, has settled, and the once heavy humidity is now a gentle presence, a reminder that life, though ever-changing, is persistent. The rivers, once unpredictable and wild, are now steady, their flow quieter, gentler. There is something almost sacred in the way the earth responds to the hands that work it. The once ruined fields that have been submerged beneath the rising waters are now coming back to life. The crops grow strong and healthy, their leaves unfurling as though they too are celebrating the return of the sun, the return of the seasons. For the first time since the flood, you feel a sense of peace settle over you. You walk to the edge of the settlement, standing near the water's edge as the sun sinks low in the sky. The soft rustling of the trees fills the silence, and the cool breeze that sweeps through the valley brings with it the promise of a new day. The land feels alive beneath your feet, and you can almost feel the pulse of it, like the beating heart of the earth itself. The flood may have taken much, but the land is resilient, and so, too, are you. The people of the settlement, now settling into their new life, have begun to find their rhythm. They no longer live as they once did, driven by the demands of the hunt and the seasons. Instead, they are learning to farm, to tame the land, to create a new kind of future for themselves. They gather around the fire to share stories. Some of the old, some of the new. The flood is never far from anyone's thoughts, but there is no longer fear in their voices when they speak of it. The flood has become a part of their history, a part of the tapestry of their lives, but it is no longer the defining event of their existence. Now, they look to the future with a quiet, determined hope. The children run through the fields, their laughter echoing across the land as they help their parents with the harvest. The work is hard, but it is satisfying, and with every passing day there is more to be done, more to be built. The village grows, slowly but surely, and as it does, so does the sense of community. The people have come together not just in survival, but in the creation of something new. You walk through the settlement, taking it all in. The smell of fresh bread, baked in clay ovens, mingles with the earthy scent of the fields. The distant sound of hammers striking stone rings in the air as people build structures to provide shelter and warmth. You can see the work being done, the progress being made, and for the first time since the flood, you feel a deep sense of accomplishment. The survivors are no longer just making do. They are thriving. As the years pass, the settlement continues to grow. The people adapt to the new way of life with an ease that surprises even them. They no longer rely solely on the wild bounty of the land. They have learned to cultivate it, to coax it into providing for them. The fields are abundant with crops, the livestock are healthy and well fed, and the once empty stores are now filled with the fruits of their labour. You find yourself walking through the fields again, feeling the soft, moist earth beneath your feet. The crops grow tall and strong, their green leaves stretching toward the sky, reaching for the sun. The once barren land has transformed into a patchwork of green, of life. In the distance you see the children, playing and running through the tall grasses, their voices ringing out in joy. The flood may have taken so much, but it has also given your people the opportunity to build something new, something lasting. You stop for a moment, taking it all in. The earth is alive, and so too are you. Your people are no longer just surviving, they are thriving. And with every passing day they grow stronger, more resilient, more determined to make their mark on this world. The sun rises earlier now, casting its golden light over the settlement, which has taken on a sense of purpose that's both quiet and powerful. You can feel the new day stretching its limbs, the earth waking up, just as you and your people are. The air is crisp, the first hint of spring brushing against your skin as you step into the new world. This fragile, reborn world. The long stretches of fields now hold rows of crops that sway gently in the morning breeze, their edges kissed by dew. The scent of fresh earth is still thick in the air, mingling with the distant tang of wood smoke from the fires that burn low in the morning chill. There is no longer fear in the atmosphere, only the quiet hum of life, full of purpose. You walk through the settlement, taking in the faces of the people who have become, in many ways, family. They've adapted to this new world, slowly but surely. The men who once tracked the great herds of mammoths and bison now wield ploughs and hoes, their hands stained with the work of cultivation, not hunting. The women, once accustomed to gathering wild fruits and roots, now manage fields and orchards, carefully nurturing crops to ensure a steady supply of food. The children, too, have changed. They no longer simply run and play, but help harvest crops, carry water, and gather firewood. They are growing up into a world that no longer resembles the one their parents knew, but a world that offers hope, growth, and, for the first time in a long while, stability. There is a hum of activity in the air, a buzz of determination that can be felt everywhere. It isn't just in the fields either. The shelter that was once rudimentary has evolved into sturdier homes, built with what materials can be found. The walls are strong, the roof secure, and there is a warmth inside that comes from more than just the fire. It comes from the knowledge that this place, this settlement, is beginning to be something lasting. As you walk through the village, past homes crafted from stone and wood, you see the signs of a people who are no longer on the run, no longer fleeing from the water, but standing firm in their new world. The earth is being shaped by the hands of your people, not merely tamed, but embraced. The land beneath your feet feels different now. It feels alive in a way that it didn't before. The rhythm of your people is now in harmony with the rhythm of the land. You can feel it in the way the soil gives way to your footfall, in the gentle rise and fall of the landscape. The hills that once seemed imposing, like barriers between you and the unknown, now seem like gentle guardians, watching over the settlement and offering shelter from the wind. The rivers, though they still carry the scars of the flood, have settled into their new course, flowing steadily, bringing life to the crops, the animals, and the people. In the early morning, as the dew settles on the grass, the air feels fresh, clean, as though it has been washed by the night's cool winds. The birds are waking now, filling the air with their calls, the first rays of sunlight catching on their wings as they dart through the trees. The ground is still damp from the morning fog, and you can hear the squelch of your feet in the moist earth as you walk across the newly formed paths. The scent of the forest, the wet leaves, and the dampness of the air is grounding, calming. This world is waking up with you, and together, it feels like you're both taking your first breaths of a new life. The settlement is expanding slowly, as it always has. Each day brings something new. A new shelter is built, a new field is cleared, a new piece of knowledge is passed down. You walk past a group of people who are constructing a communal building, large enough for the entire settlement to gather. The structure is modest, made of large stone blocks that have been carefully shaped and placed, topped with wooden beams that support the roof. The work is slow, but it's steady, and the results are impressive. The building is simple, but it speaks volumes. It is a place where people can gather to share stories, make decisions, and hold ceremonies. It is a place of community, a place where your people can come together as one, with no distinction between them. It is a symbol of what your people have built together, a world not defined by fear or destruction, but by unity and hope. The sounds of hammers and chisels echo through the settlement, a steady beat that seems to match the pulse of the earth. The work is exhausting, but the rewards are visible, tangible. The buildings, the fields, the communal spaces, they're all becoming more than just survival. They're becoming symbols of the strength and resilience of the people who inhabit this new world. The women of the settlement gather together by the river bank, washing clothes and gathering water. The rhythm of their work is soothing, steady. They laugh as they work, sharing stories of the old days, of the world before the flood. Their voices are soft, but their words carry weight. They speak of the past, but they do so not with regret or longing, but with an understanding that the world has changed, and they have changed with it. There is no more clinging to the past. The past is gone, swallowed by the waters, and all that remains is what is being built now, in this moment, in this place. The children, too, have found their place. They no longer run aimlessly through the settlement, lost in the chaos of a new world. Instead, they help. They assist with the work of the adults, whether it's by gathering herbs, fetching water, or tending to the animals. Their hands are small, but their efforts are meaningful. They are learning, growing, becoming a part of the fabric of the community. At night, when the work is done, the people gather around the fire, the warmth of the flames casting flickering shadows on their faces. The fire crackles and pops, the smell of burning wood filling the air. The children are asleep in their small shelters, their bodies curled up beneath the blankets. The adults sit in silence, sharing the simple peace of the moment. The world is no longer a threat. It is no longer something to fear. It is something to nurture, to care for, to shape into something that will sustain them for generations to come. Every day feels like a step further away from the flood, but you know it will never fully leave you. It has etched itself into the heart of your people, shaped every thought, every action. It is the blood in your veins, the memory in your bones, but it is no longer a haunting shadow. It is a driving force, propelling you and your people forward. Every stone placed in the walls, every seed planted in the earth, every animal cared for, all of it is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. And with every passing day, the settlement grows stronger. The world, though forever changed, is being rebuilt, slowly but surely, by hands that refuse to give up. The land offers its bounty in return for the care given to it. The crops are growing faster than expected, their leaves are vibrant green, the fruits ripening on the vines. The scent of fresh herbs and vegetables fills the air, mixing with the earthy smell of the soil. The animals, goats, chickens, and cattle, roam the fields, their hooves kicking up the earth as they graze and roam. The air is alive with the sound of them, a new kind of life, one that is as much a part of this world as the people themselves. As the people gather to share their meals, you can see the pride in their eyes. They have not just survived, they have thrived. Their lives have been reborn from the ashes of the old world, and they are beginning to understand something profound. Life does not end with destruction. It begins again. The wind stirs as you walk through the settlement, carrying with it the scent of fresh growth, of new life springing up from the earth. The air is clearer than it has been in months, perhaps even years. The relentless heat of the summer sun has begun to wane, replaced by a gentle breeze that carries the promise of the harvest to come. You see the people moving through the settlement, their faces focused, yet full of quiet satisfaction. Each day now feels like a step forward, a step toward a future that, though uncertain, is full of potential. The fields that once seemed barren are now lush, with rows of crops stretching out in all directions, their leaves a rich green that catches the light of the sun. The grain heads are beginning to fill out, heavy with the promise of food. The sweet smell of ripening fruit drifts on the breeze, and you catch the faintest scent of flowers blooming from vines that have begun to cover the small structures scattered throughout the settlement. The land has accepted the efforts of the people, and in return it has begun to flourish. The rhythmic sound of labour fills the air as the men and women of the settlement work together, gathering crops, preparing food, and fortifying their homes. It's a steady hum, a pulse that matches the heartbeat of the land. You walk past a group of men digging irrigation channels, their sweat glistening in the sun, their hands calloused but steady. The water that once ravaged the land is now being harnessed, redirected into the fields to nourish the crops that are beginning to define this new life. The children, too, are learning to contribute. Some gather berries and herbs from the fields, their small hands picking through the bushes with practiced efficiency. Others are at the riverbank watching over the goats and sheep as they drink from the cool, clear water. Their laughter rings through the air, a sound of innocence and joy in a world that has been, for so long, defined by loss. As the day wears on, the sun begins to sink lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the settlement. The heat of the day begins to give way to the coolness of the evening, and the people begin to gather around the fire. The crackling of burning wood mixes with the murmurs of conversation, the sounds of people coming together at the end of a long day's work. The firelight flickers in the faces of the people, illuminating their expressions, faces that are tired but content. The food they share is simple, but there is a deep satisfaction in it. The fruits of their labour, gathered from the very land that had once been their enemy, now fill their bellies and warm their spirits. As you sit beside the fire, you reflect on the journey that has brought you here. The flood, the displacement, the fear. All of it feels like a distant dream now, as if it happened in another lifetime. The world has changed, and so have you. The people around the fire, the ones who have shared in the hardships, the losses, the rebirth, are more than just survivors. They are your family. They are the ones who, like you, have adapted, rebuilt, and created something that is more than just survival. It is life, real and lasting. The fire crackles in the center of the gathering, sending sparks into the air as the flames dance and sway. The warmth from the flames is comforting, but it's the presence of the people, the community, that provides the greatest warmth. The elders speak softly, sharing stories of the old days, of the world before the flood. They speak of the ancient traditions that have been passed down through generations, but now those stories are laced with something new, hope. One of the elders, an old man with a weathered face and eyes that have seen far more than most, tells a story about the first settlers, the ones who had come before the flood. He speaks of their courage, their strength, and their belief in the land. He tells you that no matter what happens, this land will always hold the memory of those who came before, of the people who lived here long before the flood. The children listen intently, their eyes wide as they absorb the stories. They may not fully understand the weight of the words yet, but they know the stories are important. They understand, even at their young age, that they are part of something much larger than themselves, part of a history that stretches back to a time when their ancestors first walked this land. The stories of the old world are shared with reverence, but they are not burdens. They are memories, lessons passed down through time, pieces of the past that will guide the future. And as the fire burns down to embers, you realize something profound. These stories are not just about the past, they're about the future too. The days continue to stretch out before you, each one blending into the next, each one a reminder that the past may have shaped your people, but it is the present that will determine your future. You're no longer simply rebuilding, you're creating something new. The land that was once barren, ravaged by water, is now alive with the fruits of your labour. The fields are full, the people are strong, and the community is thriving. There is a sense of ownership now, a sense that the land belongs to the people who have worked it, who have nurtured it. You walk through the fields, your boots sinking into the earth, and feel a deep connection to the land beneath you. This is your home now. This is where you and your people have laid down roots, where you will raise your children and where they will raise their children. This is the foundation of a future that is just beginning. You see the people working side by side as they clear more land, as they plant more crops. Their faces are determined, their hands steady as they work the soil. There is no rush, no frantic energy to their movements. There is a calm certainty in the way they work, a knowing that just as the land has healed, so too will they. The flood is no longer a shadow that looms over them. It is a part of the past, and it will never be forgotten. But it will not define them. They will define their future together. The community grows, and with it, the understanding that survival is not just about enduring hardship, but about building something meaningful from the ground up. You see the children running through the fields, their laughter echoing in the open air. They are part of this new world, a world that they will shape with their own hands. They are the ones who will carry forward the lessons of the past, the strength of the survivors who came before them, and the hope of a future that is rooted in the land. As the seasons shift, you notice more changes in the settlement. The once ragged shelters have evolved into sturdier structures, simple but strong. The roofs are thatched with woven grasses and reeds, while the walls are made from the timber of the forest that surround the settlement. The homes are small but functional, each one a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of your people. They are a far cry from the stone structures of the ancient world, but they hold a deep meaning. These homes are built by the hands of those who have survived, who have rebuilt, and who will continue to create a future for generations to come. The fields are being expanded and new crops are being introduced. The work is hard, but it is steady. The people are learning how to rotate their crops, how to keep the soil rich and fertile. They have learned from the land, and they are beginning to understand its cycles. They're no longer at the mercy of the world around them. They're shaping it to meet their needs. The animals that once roamed the wild, free to follow their own path, are now cared for and tended. The goats bleat as they graze in the fields, their wool soft and thick. The chickens cluck and scratch the ground, pecking at the grain. The livestock are no longer just a means of survival. They are part of the cycle of life, just as the crops are, just as the people are. The settlement is no longer a collection of individuals trying to survive. It is a community, a living, breathing organism, working together to create a new world from the ruins of the old one. As the weeks flow into months, the rhythm of life in the settlement becomes ever more ingrained. The work continues steady as ever, but with it comes an unspoken understanding, a knowledge that things are no longer just about surviving, but about thriving. The landscape has been reshaped, not just by the flood, but by the hands of the people who refuse to give up. Every field, Every shelter, every new structure that rises from the earth is a testament to their resilience, their ability to adapt and grow in the face of overwhelming loss. The sounds of the settlement fill the air as morning breaks across the horizon. The rustling of the trees, the distant calls of birds, and the steady hum of daily life. Hammers striking wood, the creaking of structures being built, the murmur of voices as people speak with one another. The fields are vibrant with green shoots of life, the first signs of what will be a plentiful harvest. The scent of earth and plants fills your nose, grounding you in the present moment. The water from the river, which once had threatened to swallow everything, now brings life. It runs with purpose, carving its way through the land with an unhurried pace, its cool touch bringing nourishment to the crops and the animals alike. The people have learned how to harness it, to use it to irrigate their fields, to transport goods from one part of the settlement to another. The river, which had once been the harbinger of disaster, is now a vital artery, vital to the survival of the settlement. As you walk through the village, you see the continued efforts of those who labour in the fields, harvesting what has grown, planting what will come next. The work is never finished, but that's what makes it meaningful. There is no hesitation in the movement of those around you, only purpose. You watch a young man, his back bent under the weight of a basket full of grain, as he carries it to the drying racks near the riverbank. His hands are calloused, his body lean from the work, but there is no fatigue in his eyes. There is only the knowledge that the work he does today will ensure tomorrow's survival. Further along, you see a woman carefully tending to the garden, her hands gently turning the soil, loosening it with deft movements. She speaks quietly to the plants as if they are old friends, whispering words of encouragement as she gathers the herbs and vegetables that will be used to feed the community. The scent of fresh basil, thyme and sage fills the air around you. There is a calming rhythm in her actions, slow, deliberate and steady. It's the rhythm of someone who has learned to listen to the earth and to understand its language. The children run through the settlement, their laughter echoing across the open spaces between homes and fields. They have become accustomed to the changes in the world around them, their sense of wonder unbroken by the hardships their parents faced. Their games are simple, but they carry with them a joy that has been long absent. They are the future, the ones who will carry forward the lessons of their ancestors, the ones who will shape the world that is being rebuilt around them. As evening falls, the cool air settles over the settlement, bringing with it the promise of a quiet night. The sun, now lower in the sky, casts a golden light across the village, painting everything it touches with a warm amber hue. The shadows stretch long across the ground, and the sounds of the day begin to fade into the stillness of night. The crackling of the evening fire, the soft murmur of voices as people gather to share the fruits of their labour, fills the air. The firelight dances on the faces of the people as they sit together, their tired bodies at ease for the moment. The scent of roasting meat and freshly baked bread drifts through the air, mixing with the earthy aroma of the fields and the faint hint of wood smoke. The warmth of the fire seeps into your skin as you sit by it, the light flickering across the faces of your fellow survivors. They are tired, yes, but they are content. There is no longer a fear of the future, only a quiet confidence in the work that has been done and the work that still lies ahead. The elders tell stories of the old world, of times before the flood, when the earth was different, when the world was filled with sounds and scents that are now only memories. Their words are soft, reverent, but there is no sorrow in them, only an acknowledgement that the past, though gone, shape the present, And in the present there is life, there is growth, there is community. You notice how the relationships between the people have changed too. There is a quiet strength in the way they move through the settlement, the way they work together. It's not the same as it was before the flood, when the people lived in separate clans, isolated from one another. Now, the bonds between them are tighter. They are no longer individuals struggling to survive. They are a community, united not just by circumstance but by choice. You walk through the village and see the familiar faces, faces you have known for years, even if some of them were once distant. The old grievances, the divisions that once existed between clans, have faded into the background. Now, there is a shared purpose, a shared future. There is a sense of trust in the way people look at each other, a trust that has been earned by working side by side day after day. In the distance, a small group of people gather near the riverbank. They are talking, laughing quietly as they share the day's news. Some are cleaning fish. Others are preparing food for the evening meal. As you approach, you hear the soft hum of a song that has been passed down through generations. It is a song of hope, of resilience, of survival. It is a song that tells the story of their journey from the flood to this new world. You smile to yourself as you listen. The song is simple, but it carries with it the weight of everything that has been endured. And yet, it is not a sad song. It is a song of victory, of the human spirit that refuses to be broken. The landscape around you is beginning to look different too. The once barren hillsides are now dotted with small patches of green, where the people have planted new crops, new trees, new life. The once flooded fields, now reclaimed by the people, are teeming with life. The grass is tall, the crops are healthy, and the animals graze freely on the land that they now call home. It's a far cry from the desolate, empty landscape that existed in the aftermath of the flood. It is a testament to the determination of the people who have worked tirelessly to bring the land back to life. The trees, too, have begun to take root again. Once stripped of their leaves and branches by the rising waters, they now stand tall, their leaves unfurling as the days pass. The air is thick with the scent of pine and oak, and the rustle of leaves in the wind fills the spaces between the sounds of the settlement. The forest is alive again, as if it too has been reborn, and it feels as if the land is stretching its limbs, preparing to grow into something new. The river, once a symbol of destruction, has become a life-giving force. Its waters flow steadily, bringing nourishment to the crops and providing water for the settlement. The sounds of the river, once an ominous presence, are now a soothing background to the work of the day. The river has found its place again in the landscape, just as the people have found their place in this new world. As the days continue to pass, you notice the growth, not only in the land, but in the people as well. The children, once small and uncertain, now move through the settlement with purpose. They have learned to work alongside their parents, to contribute to the community in ways that seemed impossible when they first arrived. They're no longer just the next generation of survivors. They are the next generation of builders, of creators, of those who will carry forward the legacy of the people who rebuilt the world from the ruins of the flood. The adults, too, have grown in ways that are harder to put into words. They are no longer defined by the trauma of the flood, but by the strength they've found in each other, in the work they've done, and in the new world they have forged. They are no longer the victims of a disaster. They are the architects of a future. And as you stand in the heart of the settlement, surrounded by the sounds of life and work, you realize that this is what it means to survive. It is not just about surviving the flood or surviving the land. It is about surviving together. It is about adapting, about finding strength not just in the earth, but in each other. It is about learning to grow, not just in the soil, but in the heart. The sun rises early now, spreading its first golden rays across the village, bathing the settlement in the soft glow of morning. The earth, now a living, breathing entity beneath your feet, stirs to life with the rhythm of the seasons. The fields, once quiet and bare, now pulse with growth, the crops swelling with promise. Each morning the air is filled with the scent of fresh earth, damp with dew and brimming with the sweetness of life in its earlier stages. The work continues, unrelenting, steady, but full of purpose. You step out into the village, the cool morning air brushing against your skin, and the sounds of the day's first tasks begin to fill your ears. The soft murmur of voices, the rhythmic pounding of tools against stone, the occasional laughter of children running through the fields. You hear the low bleat of goats, the clucking of chickens, the rustling of leaves in the trees as the wind stirs them to life. There is no more fear of the flood, no more uncertainty in the air. It is a world of hard work, yes, but a world where people are no longer just surviving. They are creating, building, and shaping their future. The men are busy clearing more land for crops, their broad shoulders heaving with effort as they work together to turn the soil. The women too are at work, tending to the animals, collecting water, and preparing the food that will nourish the settlement. There is a unity in their actions, a quiet cooperation that speaks to the deep bond that has been forged between them through shared struggle. They do not speak much as they work. There is no need to. Their movements are fluid, instinctive, synchronized by the knowledge that the survival of this settlement depends on them all. The children, though small, are part of the rhythm as well. They help in whatever way they can, gathering firewood, tending to the younger animals and carrying water from the river. Their laughter rings out through the morning air, a bright contrast to the heavy work of their elders. They are the hope of this new world, the ones who will inherit it, and you can see it in the way they run through the settlement with a carefree joy that feels both foreign and familiar. They have become part of the pulse of the land, their steps light, their voices carrying the promise of the future. There is something about the work that binds everyone together, an unspoken understanding that they are not merely individuals, but a collective force, bound by the shared goal of rebuilding what was lost. You see it in the way people pass by one another, offering a quick nod or a brief touch on the shoulder. There is no division here, no barriers between the strong and the weak, the young and the old. They're all working together side by side to create something that will stand the test of time. In the evenings, when the work of the day is done and the air has cooled, the people gather around the central fire. The children, exhausted from their play, curl up on the ground, their eyes heavy with sleep. The adults, though tired, sit close, the warmth of the fire drawing them together. The fire crackles and pops, sending sparks into the cool night air. The scent of wood smoke mixes with the earthy aroma of the fields, and the faint, sweet smell of roasting meat. The firelight dances on the faces of the people, illuminating the lines of their faces, the weariness in their eyes. But there is something more in their eyes now, something that was not there in the early days of the flood, when fear and uncertainty gripped them all. Now there is pride, there is satisfaction in the work they have done, in the progress they have made. They are no longer at the mercy of the world around them. They have taken control, shaping their own destiny. They are survivors, but more than that, they are builders. As the weeks slip by, you begin to notice the subtle changes in the land. The once barren fields are now a patchwork of green, grain, vegetables and fruits all growing in abundance. The forest, once stripped bare by the floodwaters, is coming back to life, its trees thick with leaves, the underbrush vibrant with new growth. The land is healing, its wounds gradually closing. The once dead soil now flourishes, nourished by the hands that have cared for it. You walk through the fields, your boots sinking slightly into the moist earth, and you can feel the pulse of the land beneath your feet. The ground is warm from the sun's rays, yet still cool from the lingering moisture of the night. Each step you take seems to echo the rhythm of the land, steady, constant, unyielding. The scent of fresh grass and earth fills your nostrils, and you can hear the faint rustling of the wind through the tall crops, the low hum of insects buzzing as they go about their work. The rivers, too, have become a symbol of life rather than death. They are no longer the tumultuous forces that ravaged the land during the flood. Now the waters are calm, steady, their flow gentle. They bring life to the crops, to the animals, and to the people. The river is no longer something to fear. It has become a partner in the survival of the settlement. You walk to the river bank, your feet sinking into the soft mud. The water flows steadily, its surface reflecting the light of the setting sun. The trees along the bank have grown tall and strong, their roots tangled deep in the earth. The river, which once seemed to have the power to destroy, now feels like a companion, one that offers sustenance, a gentle reminder that the earth has not turned its back on the people who care for it. As the seasons change, the settlement grows. New shelters are built, more crops are planted, and the people begin to see the fruits of their labour in a way that is undeniable. The hardships of the past have not been forgotten, but they have been transformed into something new, something lasting. The land, which was once a battleground, is now a place of sustenance, a place that gives back to those who work it with patience and care. You notice the children as they run through the settlement, their feet light and quick, their voices carrying through the air. They have become part of the pulse of this new world. Their laughter is a sound that has become as natural as the rustling of the leaves, the chirping of birds, the hum of the river. They are the hope of the settlement, the ones who will inherit this new world, and it is clear that they are learning the ways of the land, the ways of survival. They're growing up in a world that is different from the one their parents knew, but it is a world that offers them a future, and that is something they will carry with them always. The adults, too, have found their place. The work is never-ending, but it no longer feels like a burden. It is the work of creation, of building something from the ground up. The men and women of the settlement work together, side by side, moving with a quiet determination that speaks volumes. There is no longer fear, no longer uncertainty in the air. There is only the steady pulse of progress, the pulse of life itself. The days slip by, blending into one another. The seasons change, but the work never ceases. The settlement continues to grow, and with it, the people. They are no longer just survivors of the flood. They are the creators of a new world, a world that will last. The flood, once the defining event of their lives, is now just a part of the past, a chapter in their history that they have moved beyond. As the first snowflakes of winter begin to fall, you stand at the edge of the settlement, looking out over the land. The fields, now covered in a thin blanket of snow, glisten in the pale light of the early morning. The river, once swollen with the flood waters, now runs quietly beneath the ice, its waters hidden from view. The trees, their branches heavy with snow, stand like silent sentinels guarding the settlement. You breathe in the crisp, cold air, and feel the weight of the past lifting from your shoulders. The world has changed, but so have you. And as you look out over the land, you know that this new world, this world that you and your people have created, will endure. The snow continues to fall, delicate flakes drifting down in the cold air, coating everything in a soft, silent blanket. The settlement, now nestled in the folds of the land, feels somehow more peaceful under the weight of winter. The work of the day has slowed, but there is no lull in the energy, no break in the rhythm. The people are huddled inside their homes, the warmth from the fires inside mingling with the crisp chill that has settled outside. There is a quiet comfort to the stillness, a sense of containment as the world around them rests beneath its white cover. You walk through the settlement, the crunch of snow beneath your boots breaking the silence with each step. The air is sharp, but it doesn't sting. Instead, it feels fresh, revitalizing, like the earth is drawing a deep breath. You pass by the rows of houses, their roofs heavy with snow, the windows glowing with the warmth of firelight from within. The faint flicker of movement can be seen through the windows as families sit, together, sharing the last of their evening meals, telling stories, or simply resting after the day's work. The settlement is alive, though quieter now. The harvests are stored, the animals are tended to in their pens, and the people have found their rhythm, even in the coldest months of the year. The winter is not a time of stasis, but of renewal. The snow covers the landscape like a protective layer, giving the land a chance to rest, to rebuild its strength before the first signs of spring. And for the people of the settlement, it is a time of reflection, a time to remember how far they have come, and to prepare for the work that will come with the thaw. As night falls fully, the fire pits are lit, their warm glow inviting the people to gather. The village is small, but the centre of it is where the spirit of the community feels most alive. Here, people gather in the shared warmth of the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering light. The crackle of the fire is a constant companion, a sound that marks the rhythm of the evening. It is not just the warmth that draws them together, it is the stories, the shared history that binds them all. A man stands up from the circle, his voice low and steady as he begins to tell a story. It is not the first time the story has been told, but tonight it feels more poignant than ever. The firelight dances on his face as he speaks, the shadows moving across his weathered skin. He speaks of the flood, of the days when the waters rose and swallowed everything. But there is no bitterness in his voice. Instead, there is acceptance, a quiet understanding that the flood was not just an ending, but a beginning. His words carry weight. He speaks of the ancestors, those who had lived on the land before the Great Change, and how they had always known that the land was not theirs to control, but to work in partnership with. They understood, he says, that the land gives and the land takes, but it is always ours to care for. His voice carries through the air, his words touching the hearts of those gathered around the fire. As the fire crackles, the people nod, some murmuring in agreement, others lost in their own thoughts. The air is filled with the scent of wood burning, and the warmth from the flames soaks into your bones. You lean back, listening to the wind outside, the quiet hum of the world beyond the village. It is a sound of calm, of peace, of the earth at rest, and you realize in that moment how much the land has taught you. It is not just a place to live, it is a partner, a companion that offers its bounty and its challenges in equal measure. The days continue to pass in a steady flow, the work of the winter months as necessary as the work done in the summer. It is not a time of rest, but a time of preparation. Inside the homes, The fires burn steadily, the warmth from the hearths a source of comfort against the cold that has settled over the village. People work indoors, repairing tools, making clothing, and preparing for the spring. You watch a group of women as they sit together in a small shelter, their hands moving quickly as they sew new clothes for the coming months. Their needles glide in and out of the fabric with practiced precision, the sound of the thread pulling through the cloth, a quiet, soothing rhythm. The clothes are simple, but they are made with care, each stitch a small act of love for the community. Outside, the men gather to work on the tools that will be needed when the thaw comes. They sharpen the axes, repair the ploughs, and tend to the equipment that will help the people work the fields in the spring. The work is slow, but there is no hurry. The winter will pass, and when it does, the land will be ready. The men are steady, their hands moving with purpose as they tend to the tools that will once again allow them to work the land. One of the most striking changes in the settlement over the past months is the sense of unity that has developed. The people no longer live in isolation from one another. They have learned to rely on one another, not just for survival, but for the deeper things that make life meaningful. There is no longer the feeling of living on the edge of existence. Instead, there is a shared understanding that the work they do is not just for themselves, but for each other. The food stores, carefully preserved and stored in cool, dark places, are shared freely among the people. No one goes hungry. The winter months may be harsh, but there is no fear of want. The people know they have what they need to make it through the cold, and when the spring comes, they will begin again, not as individuals working alone, but as a community working together to create something that will last. This sense of unity is also reflected in the children, who are growing stronger, learning not just the skills needed to survive in this new world, but the importance of working together. They are no longer simply the next generation of survivors. They are the next generation of builders, creators, and leaders. They are the ones who will carry the knowledge of the past into the future, making sure that the lessons learned are never forgotten. You watch them play in the snow, their laughter echoing through the village as they run between the homes, their cheeks flushed with the cold. They are full of energy, full of life, full of promise. In them, you see the future of this world that has been reborn from the ashes of the old. And then, after what seems like an eternity of snow and cold, the first signs of spring begin to appear. The days grow longer, the sun stronger, and the earth begins to stir beneath the snow. The river, once frozen solid, begins to thaw, its icy surface breaking apart and flowing freely again. The air is still chilly, but there is a subtle shift, a promise of warmth to come. You feel it in the earth beneath your feet, the subtle hum of life that stirs just below the surface. The trees, still heavy with snow, begin to show the first signs of new growth. The buds on the branches swell, ready to burst open when the time is right. The ground beneath the snow begins to soften, the soil warming as the frost slowly melts away. The first shoots of grass appear, tiny and fragile, but they are a reminder that even in the harshest of winters, the earth is never truly dead. The people begin to prepare for the coming season. The tools are sharpened, the fields cleared, and the homes ready for the work that will soon begin. The settlement is alive with activity, but this time the work is not just about survival. It is about growth, about creation, about moving forward into the future with the lessons of the past close at hand. The sun rises earlier now, its warmth a welcome change after the long cold months of winter. The earth seems to stretch and sigh beneath the heat, the soil slowly waking from its slumber. The snow that once blanketed the land melts away, revealing patches of green, hints of life pushing through the soil that had been buried beneath the frost. It's as if the earth itself is breathing again, finding its pulse, renewing its rhythm with the changing seasons. In the settlement, the pace of life picks up as the thaw progresses. The sound of the river, once a distant murmur beneath a thick layer of ice, is now a constant companion. Its waters flow freely once more, carving their way through the landscape with a force that seems to speak of renewal, of things left behind and things to come. The people, too, begin to move faster, their bodies shedding the lethargy that the cold months have imposed. The warmth of the sun gives them new energy, new purpose. The scent of the earth is thick in the air, a combination of damp soil, the wetness of thawing snow, and the faintest hint of blooming wildflowers. The world is coming alive again, and with it the people feel the pull of the season, the call to prepare for the work that lies ahead. In the fields, the men and women are already working, the first signs of spring planting well underway. The soil, rich and damp, is tilled carefully, turned over in rows by hand and with simple tools. The people move through the earth like old friends, steady, deliberate, and with a quiet reverence for the land that has both sustained and tested them. The work is hard, but it is fulfilling. The sun is warm but not oppressive, and the cool breeze that stirs the air seems to encourage the labour rather than hinder it. The women, too, are busy, clearing the debris from last season, collecting the first of the herbs and vegetables that have begun to grow in the warmer soil. You can smell the pungency of garlic, the sweetness of basil, and the delicate scent of freshly picked greens in the air as they work, their hands deftly collecting the bounty that is beginning to spring from the earth. Some women are already weaving baskets from the reeds growing by the river, their fingers moving swiftly and with skill, the rhythmic sound of their work blending with the murmurs of conversation that rise and fall throughout the settlement. The children run between the workers, gathering stray bits of wood or fetching water from the river, their energy a stark contrast to the slow, steady pace of the adults. As you watch them work, you realize just how far the settlement has come. The fields, once barren and ravaged by the flood, are now alive with the promise of a plentiful harvest. The small houses, once makeshift shelters thrown together in desperation, have become sturdy homes, well built and carefully maintained. There is a sense of permanence in the settlement now, a sense of stability that was impossible to imagine when the waters first rose and swept everything away. But the people have built something more than homes and fields. They have built a community. They have built a future. As the days lengthen and the weather grows warmer, the animals too feel the shift in the seasons. The goats bleat as they nudge their way toward fresh grass, their hooves kicking up the soft earth as they wander between the growing patches of green. The chickens peck eagerly at the dirt, scratching for food, while the cows, their sides now round and heavy with the coming calves, stand in the fields, content and still. The animals are no longer confined to their pens, waiting for the cold to pass. They too are part of the rhythm of life that is beginning to flow again. The people are beginning to discuss the challenges ahead. There are preparations to be made for the coming harvest, plans for storing food and preserving what has been gathered. But there are also new challenges, the possibility of pests, the dangers of crop disease, and the need to make sure the fields are properly tended to throughout the warmer months. The work is far from over. If anything, it has only just begun. The warmth of the season may bring life, but it also brings with it the harsh realities of survival. There is no time to relax, no time to rest on the progress made. The future still requires constant effort, constant vigilance. But as the community discusses their plans, there is a sense of optimism in the air. The winter was harsh, but it is behind them. The flood, the destruction, the loss, all of it is a part of the past now, something they have overcome. Now there is only the future, one that they have created through their collective effort, their shared resilience. As the community works, you notice that there is something different about the way the people interact. There is a stronger sense of unity than ever before. It is not just the work that binds them together, but a shared understanding that they are building something not just for themselves, but for each other. They move through their days with purpose, with strength, and with a quiet confidence that comes from knowing that they are capable of anything. The gatherings at the fire are more frequent now. As the workday winds down and the air cools, the people come together around the fire, the warmth of the flames mingling with the cool night air. The fire crackles, sending sparks into the night, while the laughter and conversations of the people swirl around it. It is a time for stories, stories of the old days, of the flood, and of the trials they have overcome. But the stories are not just about survival. They are stories of triumph, of rebuilding, of hope. The children listen, their eyes wide with wonder, soaking in the stories that will shape their understanding of the world. The elders speak with authority, but there is a tenderness in their voices as they pass on the wisdom of the past. There is no bitterness in their words, no anger at what was lost. There is only a quiet, deep understanding that the flood, like all things in nature, was both a destroyer and a creator. It may have swept away what was old, but it has also made way for what is new. As you sit by the fire, you realize how much you have changed. The world around you has changed, yes, but so have you. You're no longer the same person who once watched in fear as the waters rose helpless to stop them. You're someone new now, someone who has witnessed the destruction of the old world and who has helped to create a new one. You are a part of something bigger than yourself, something that will last long after you're gone. As the days pass, you watch the land shift from early spring to the lush warmth of summer. The crops in the fields grow taller, the flowers bloom in bright, vibrant colours, and the animals thrive in the warmth of the season. The settlement continues to grow, not just in size, but in strength. The sense of unity among the people is stronger than ever. They work together, they share together, and they know that whatever comes, they will face it as one. In the evenings, when the work is done and the children are asleep, the adults sit together around the fire, the flickering light casting soft shadows on their faces. They speak of the future, of what will come when the harvest is complete. They speak of building more homes, of expanding the settlement, of trading with other groups, and of ensuring that the future remains secure. There is no fear in their voices. There is only hope. The land will continue to provide, the seasons will continue to change, and the people will continue to adapt. But there is also a quiet understanding that while they have overcome so much, the journey is far from over. The world is always shifting, always changing, and there will always be challenges to face. But as you sit around the fire, you realize something profound. The people of this settlement have learned something that the flood could not take from them. They have learned the most important lesson of all: how to endure, how to rebuild, how to thrive in the face of adversity. And as the fire burns down to embers, casting its last flickering glow into the night, you feel a deep sense of peace. The past is behind you, the present is secure, and the future is waiting. The warmth of the fire settles into your bones, and the sounds of the night, the soft rustle of leaves, the occasional crack of wood shifting in the fire, become a backdrop to the steady pulse of life around you. The moon, rising in the clear sky, casts its cool light over the settlement, illuminating the people who gather round the fire. Their faces glow softly in the night, illuminated by the flames and by something deeper, a shared understanding that they have been through the worst and are now ready to step into the future. As the fire continues to burn, there's a shift in the air. It's not just the warmth of the flames, it's something more. The people are gathering, not just to share the day's work, but to build the next steps together. There is a quiet energy in the air, a sense that they are no longer just surviving the seasons, but planning for them. There's talk of expanding the fields further, of diversifying the crops, of exploring beyond the riverbank where the land has yet to be fully explored. The children, now growing stronger by the day, sit by the fire listening intently. Some of them have never known a world without the flood, but the stories they hear tonight are different. These are not tales of loss. These are stories of perseverance, of thriving against all odds. The words of the elders speak of survival, but they also speak of hope, of finding light even in the darkest of times. Their eyes are full of the future. The next morning, the warmth of the sun feels more like a promise than a simple rise of the day. The early morning mist has long cleared from the earth, leaving behind a fresh smell of dew on the grass and a cool breeze that carries the scent of the river and the new crops. The community moves in harmony, as it has every day, but now with a shared sense of urgency. They know that the harvest is coming soon, and there is still much to be done. The men and women are already working in the fields, some clearing the last of the weeds from the rows, others tending to the young crops that have sprouted since the thaw. The scent of freshly turned earth fills the air, mixing with the faint earthy smell of growing plants. The sun begins to climb higher in the sky, casting its bright light over the land, and the heat, though still mild, offers a soft promise of the season's fullness to come. You move through the settlement, your boots sinking slightly into the damp soil, feeling the pulse of life beneath your feet. The sound of laughter and the hum of voices rise in the air as the people work. It is a steady rhythm, a heartbeat that has become familiar, comforting in its consistency. The children run between the workers, their feet light on the earth, their faces bright with the energy that only youth can bring. Their hands carry water, gather herbs, and aid in the smallest tasks. They do not mind. They are part of this world now, an essential part of this cycle of life that has carried the community through. The women of the settlement are busy too, some in the kitchens stirring pots, others weaving cloth, and a few preparing storage for the coming harvest. You stop for a moment to watch as a woman, her hands skilled and quick, weaves baskets from the reeds growing near the river. The rhythmic motion of her hands is both calming and purposeful. The baskets will be used to carry the grains that are beginning to ripen in the fields. She works with a quiet determination, her movements precise. Each pass of the reed a small testament to the strength and resilience of the people. As the days stretch on, the crops in the fields continue to grow. The grain ripens on the stalks, the beans and peas climb higher on their trellises, and the fruit trees begin to blossom in a burst of colour. The work intensifies as the harvest season nears. The land, which was once stripped of its bounty by the flood, now offers its riches in return for the care that has been lavished upon it. The people have learned to work with the earth, not against it. The sound of harvesting tools ringing against the plants is a steady beat, a rhythm that marks the passage of time and the work that is being done. You watch as one of the men in the field swings a sickle through the ripe grain, his movements practiced, fluid. The golden stalks fall to the ground, ready to be gathered and stored. The scent of cut grain fills the air, mixing with the smell of earth, damp and fertile from the spring rains. The harvest is hard work, but it is also a time of satisfaction, a time to gather the fruits of the land's labour, a time to prepare for the colder months ahead. You pause for a moment, watching the community at work. They move with a sense of purpose, their faces set in determination, but there is no hurry, no panic. There is only the steady rhythm of work that fills the air, the gentle hum of a people who have learned to live with the land, not just on it. They are not racing against time. They are working in harmony with it, knowing that the future will come, and it will come with all the challenges that nature provides. As the harvest continues, the days grow longer and the nights cooler. The village feels alive, not just with the activity of work, but with a quiet sense of purpose that fills the air. The people of the settlement have built something not just for survival, but for continuity. The land has responded, and with that response, so has the community. They have learned from the past, not just the flood that changed their lives, but from the old ways that were passed down through the generations. They have learned how to work with the earth, to shape it to their needs, and in return, the earth has given them life. You can feel the shift in the air as the season turns, the promise of the harvest becoming a reality. The once fragile fields are now full of life, full of potential. The land, once ravaged by the flood, has become a symbol of resilience. The people have worked it, cared for it, and in return, it is providing them with the bounty they need to sustain them through the coming months. The river, once a symbol of destruction, now flows steadily beside the settlement, its waters calm and predictable. The sound of the river is a constant presence, a reminder that life, in all its forms, is cyclical. The river rises and falls with the seasons, as does the land, as does the community. There is a steady rhythm to the world, a pulse that flows through everything: the earth, the people, the animals, the river. It is a cycle of life and death, of growth and decay, and through it all the community endures. As the workday winds down, the people gather once more around the fire. The soft crackle of the flames fills the evening air, mingling with the quiet conversations and the laughter of children who have come to join their parents. The day has been long, but the work has been good, and there is a quiet satisfaction in the faces of those who sit around the fire. The air grows cooler as the evening sets in, and the wind stirs through the trees, carrying the scent of fresh pine and damp earth. The fire burns steadily, its glow casting long shadows across the settlement. The children, tired from their play, settle down by their parents, curling up against the warmth of the fire. The elders speak of the old world, of times before the flood, but their words are no longer tinged with sadness. Instead, they speak with a sense of peace, as though they have made their peace with the past. The people around the fire listen intently, their faces illuminated by the flickering light, but their eyes are not focused solely on the past. They are looking toward the future, toward the work that will come, the challenges that they will face. But there is no fear in their eyes, there is only resolve. The fire burns bright, the warmth wrapping around them like a blanket, and in the light of the flames you can see the strength in their faces. The future is still uncertain, but it is no longer something to be feared. The flood may have taken much from the people, but it has also given them the chance to rebuild, to create something new. The settlement is growing stronger with each passing day. The fields are fuller, and the homes are sturdier. The land is healing, and so are the people. They have learned to live in harmony with the earth, to work with it, to respect it. And as they do, it has begun to respond, giving them the sustenance they need to continue their journey. The future is not a guarantee, but it is a possibility, and that is all anyone could ask for. The wind shifts in the late afternoon, carrying with it the sharp scent of rain. It's a familiar smell, one that brings both anticipation and caution. The sky above darkens, the clouds heavy with moisture, casting a shadow over the settlement. The people, busy with their daily work, pause for a moment, looking up at the sky as the first drops begin to fall. The soft patter of rain on the leaves and rooftops fills the air, steady and rhythmic like a natural heartbeat. But despite the promise of rain, there is no panic. The land has been prepared, the fields cleared and tended, the crops well established. The earth is thirsty, and the rain will nourish it, bringing the growth needed for the coming months. The river, though swollen from previous storms, has been calm in recent weeks, its waters running steady and predictable. Still, there's a quiet tension in the air, a sense of waiting. The flood is always in the back of people's minds, a distant memory that still lingers just below the surface of their thoughts. Yet, as the rain falls and the people continue their work, the tension begins to fade. There is no fear now, not like before. They have learned to live with the land, to understand its rhythms, and in doing so, they have found peace. The rain falls steadily, soaking into the earth, filling the air with the rich, wet smell of growing things. The people of the settlement take advantage of the cooler weather, working more efficiently in the dampness, their movements more deliberate and less rushed. The sound of tools striking wood, of baskets being woven, of animals being tended to, all of it blends with the rhythmic patter of rain. It's a song of life, a song of survival, and it plays on throughout the day and into the night. As the evening comes, the rain begins to taper off, leaving behind a world fresh and renewed. The sky, though still clouded, clears enough to allow the stars to peek through. The temperature drops, and a crispness fills the air. The people gather around the fire, the warmth from the flames offering a contrast to the coolness that settles in with the night. The fires burn brightly in the centre of the settlement, their glow spilling out into the dark, casting long shadows on the walls of the homes and on the faces of those gathered. There's a sense of contentment, of peace, as people sit together, their tired bodies resting after a long day's work. The crackle of the fire, the soft rustling of the leaves in the trees, the distant sound of the river, all of it blends together into a single comforting hum. The smell of roasting meat and fresh bread fills the air, mingling with the earthy scent of the rain-soaked ground. The aroma is rich, grounding and familiar. It's the scent of home. The settlement, once a fragile outpost against the overwhelming force of nature, now feels like something more, something solid, something that will endure. As the night deepens, the conversation turns to the stories of the past. The elders, their faces weathered by time and experience, share tales of the old days, before the flood, before the change that swept through their world. These stories are not just memories of what was lost, but lessons for what must be preserved. The firelight dances on their faces, illuminating the lines of age and experience. The stories they tell are not of sorrow, but of strength. Stories of survival, of triumph over adversity. There is no bitterness in their voices. Instead, there is a quiet wisdom, an understanding that the past is not something to be mourned, but something to be learned from. One of the elders speaks of the old ways, of the relationship between the people and the land. We learned, she says softly, that the land is not ours to conquer. It is ours to care for. It gives us what we need when we show respect. Her voice is steady, her eyes focused on the flames as she speaks. The flood was not the end. It was a test, a reminder that we must never take the earth for granted. We must learn to live with it, not fight against it. Her words are quiet but firm, resonating with those around her. They are not just stories, they are a call to action. The people nod in agreement, understanding that the lessons of the past are not just to be remembered, but to be carried forward. The land is their partner in survival, but it is also their responsibility. The work that has been done, the crops that have been sown, the homes that have been built, none of it would be possible without respect for the earth. The rain stops entirely as the night deepens, leaving behind a quiet, expectant stillness. The coolness of the air carries the scent of the forest, of wet leaves and fresh growth. The earth feels alive beneath your feet, humming with the energy of the seasons. You step outside, leaving the warmth of the fire behind, and walk toward the fields. The moonlight catches the damp soil, casting a pale glow over the land. The once barren fields now stretch out before you, rows upon rows of crops growing tall and strong. The scent of fresh, rich soil is mingled with the delicate fragrance of blossoming plants. The world feels balanced now, in a way it hadn't before. There is no fear in the air, no sense of impending disaster. Instead, there is only the quiet hum of life, the promise of new growth, of what will come in the months ahead. The river, though not far, is out of sight from where you stand, but you can hear the steady rush of its waters, their flow now calm and predictable. It has become a companion, a partner in the survival of the settlement. The people no longer fear it as they once did. Instead, they have learned to work with it, using its water to nourish the crops, to tend to the animals, to sustain life. The river, which had once been a harbinger of destruction, is now a life-giving force. You stand in the fields for a moment, the cool night air brushing against your skin, and look out over the land. It feels different now. The flood, the destruction, the loss. It all seems so distant, so far removed from the world you inhabit now. The world has changed, and so have you. What once seemed impossible is now part of the fabric of your life. The morning arrives in the same quiet, steady way it always does. The sun rises slowly, its golden rays slipping through the trees, casting long shadows across the settlement. The air is crisp and cool, filled with the scent of fresh earth, damp from the rain the night before. The work begins once more, steady and purposeful. The land, still wet from the rain, is worked with care, the people moving through the fields with the same rhythm they have come to know so well. The animals, too, respond to the changing seasons. The goats bleat as they are let out into the fields. The chickens cluck and scratch at the dirt. The work of the day begins again, but there is no rush, no panic. The community moves together, their steps in time with the land, with the rhythm of life itself. The children run through the settlement, their laughter ringing in the air as they help with the small tasks, their energy bright against the cool, quiet morning. Their faces are eager, their steps light. They are the future, and their future is built on the work being done now. The people have come so far, and they know that the work will never truly be finished. But that is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. The morning sun climbs higher, spilling its light across the settlement, transforming the damp earth beneath your feet into something warm and rich with potential. The horizon, tinged with hues of pink and orange, promises another day of hard work and shared purpose. The air is filled with the gentle hum of activity, the steady rhythm of life that moves with the changing seasons. The earth has been restored, and so too has the people's relationship with it. You step outside into the cool morning, the grass still wet with dew. The scent of the soil is thick, a blend of moisture and earth, full of the promise of another harvest. The first few rays of sunlight stretch across the fields, turning the wet blades of grass into diamonds that shimmer in the light. The once fragile crops now stand tall and strong, their stalks swaying gently in the breeze. There's no trace left of the devastation that had once engulfed the land. The past has been buried beneath the work of hands that have, over time, turned destruction into creation. You watch as the men and women move purposefully through the fields, their hands steady as they check the crops, adjust the young plants, and ensure that the irrigation channels are flowing properly. They work in unison, their movements practiced and fluid, each task a small part of a much larger picture. The rhythm of their labour is comforting in its predictability, steady in its purpose. It is a world defined not by uncertainty, but by effort, by care, and by the shared understanding that the future depends on the work done today. The children, their energy as boundless as ever, run through the settlement, their laughter ringing through the air. Their movements are quick, sharp, as they race between the homes, the fields, the river. They are everywhere, always present, always learning, always a part of the pulse of the community. They carry water from the river, help their parents with small tasks, and play in the spaces between the work, their laughter a bright contrast to the heavy labour of the adults. Their voices like music, light and carefree. They have no memory of the flood, no understanding of the fear that once gripped their parents. For them, the world is filled with possibilities, with new things to learn and explore. They run through the grass, their bare feet kicking up the earth, their faces flushed with joy. The scent of fresh grass and wet soil clings to their skin, the cold bite of the morning air still lingering on their cheeks. They are the future of this world, and their laughter, their energy, is the heartbeat of this settlement. The sound of the river flowing is a constant presence now. Once a harbinger of destruction, it is now a life-giving force, its waters steady and predictable. The people no longer fear it, no longer see it as something to be avoided. Instead, they work with it, using its water to nourish the crops and provide for the animals. The river, like the people, has found its rhythm again. The soft rustle of the trees in the breeze, the low hum of the animals grazing in the fields, the calls of birds overhead. All of these sounds fill the air, adding to the symphony of life that surrounds the settlement. The wind, cool in the morning but warm by midday, carries with it the scent of blooming flowers, of fresh vegetables, of the life that the earth has returned. The scent of growth is thick, rich, and full of promise. There is no longer the sense of waiting. The earth is alive, and so are the people. The day unfolds like the soft opening of a flower, the morning stretching into afternoon, the sun climbing higher in the sky as the people continue their work. The scent of freshly tilled soil fills the air, mingling with the faint aroma of budding flowers. The work is steady and deliberate, the rhythm of it ingrained in the people's bones. The men continue to check the irrigation channels, ensuring the water flows properly. They move through the fields like a quiet army, tending to the plants, checking the crops, preparing for the harvest that will soon come. The women are busy too. Some are at the river, collecting water for the day's tasks. Others are sorting through the harvest from the previous days, preparing the grains and vegetables for storage. There is no rush, no hurry. The work is slow, methodical, and it is comforting in its predictability. The pace of life here is defined by the land, by the seasons, and by the people who work it. It is a rhythm that has been passed down through generations, one that the people have learned to live with. As the afternoon progresses, the heat of the sun begins to settle in, warming the earth beneath your feet. The air is thick with the scent of growing things, of damp earth, of new life. The once barren fields are now full of green, the crops reaching toward the sky as they grow taller with each passing day. You watch as a young man carefully prunes a row of beans, his movements precise and steady. He works with the same care he would give to the most precious thing in the world, because, in a way, the crops are precious. They are the future, the sustenance that will carry the settlement through the months ahead. As the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, the temperature cools. The work slows, but it does not stop. The people gather together to share what they have collected from the day's work. The air is filled with the sounds of conversation, of laughter, of quiet voices as the day winds down. The fires are lit in the centre of the settlement, casting their warm glow on the faces of the people who gather round. The fire burns brightly in the centre of the settlement, its warmth a welcome comfort against the cool of the evening. The soft crackle of the flames fills the air, mixing with the sounds of the night. The distant chirp of crickets, the rustle of the trees, the steady flow of the river. The settlement is quiet now, the hustle of the day giving way to the peace of the evening. The people gather around the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering light. The children are close to their parents, curled up against their warmth as they listen to the stories shared around the fire. The stories are always the same, yet never boring. They are stories of survival, of hardship, of the past, of the future, and they are stories of strength. An elder, her face lined with age and wisdom, speaks in a soft voice, her words slow and deliberate. She talks of the land, of the lessons it teaches. The earth is a patient teacher, she says. It doesn't rush. It takes its time, just as we must. It gives us what we need when we show respect. Her voice is steady, but there is a strength in her words. The firelight dances on her face, and for a moment it's as if she's glowing, her words hanging in the air like a spell. The people listen intently, nodding in agreement, the quiet crackle of the fire punctuating the silence. Her words are more than just advice. They're a reminder, a call to continue the work, to continue the journey. The earth, like the people, has its own rhythm, its own time, and those who respect it will thrive. As the evening deepens, the fire burns low, and the people begin to retire to their homes. The children are carried to their shelters, their small bodies warm and content. The adults linger for a moment longer, speaking in soft voices, discussing the work of the day, the plans for the future. There is no panic, no urgency, only a quiet sense of purpose. They are building something that will last. In the morning the work will begin again. The crops will be tended to, the animals cared for, the homes repaired. The world will continue to turn, the seasons will shift, but the people know that they are ready for what is to come. The flood, though it changed everything, did not destroy them. It only made them stronger. As you walk through the settlement, the warmth of the fire still clinging to your skin, you realize something important. The settlement is no longer just a place to live. It has become home, a home built from the earth, from the work of many hands, from the strength of a people who refuse to give up. The work will never truly end, but that is not something to be feared. It is something to embrace. For as long as the land continues to give, the people will continue to work, continue to thrive. And as the moon rises higher in the sky, you know that this new world, this world that has been built from the ashes of the old, will endure. The cool evening breeze begins to settle, drawing a crispness into the air that signals the turning of the season. The scent of wet earth and fresh grass lingers, a reminder of the rain from earlier, but also a promise of things to come. As night deepens, the firelight begins to flicker in the distance, casting long shadows across the settlement. The quiet hum of the day's work, the energy that has been shared by the people in unison, begins to ebb away, but the fire burns on, steady and bright. You feel the weight of the past few seasons fall away, a steady pressure lifting from your chest. The tasks that once seemed insurmountable are becoming routine. The rhythms of planting, tending, and harvesting are all familiar now, like the pulse of the earth itself. There's no hesitation in your movements, no uncertainty. The world outside the settlement, wild, unpredictable, remains far away, and in its place you've created something rooted, something enduring. The firelight reflects in the faces gathered around the central hearth. Those quiet moments of reflection, the space where the collective strength is shared. The glow of the flames dances in the eyes of the people, tired but content, calm but determined. They are at peace in this world they've rebuilt, having learned the ways of resilience not from the softness of stability, but from the edges of destruction. There's something powerful about that, a clarity that only comes from hardship overcome. The stars glitter in the black sky above, their light cutting through the cold air. The settlement is hushed as the night deepens, save for the crackle of the fire and the soft murmur of voices. The moon casts a pale silver light over the fields, over the homes, the animals that now stir at the edges of the settlement. The stillness of the night is only broken by the occasional rustling of the wind through the trees, or the faint murmur of someone moving from one house to another. There is a quiet reverence in the air, as though even nature has fallen into its rhythm, its own version of sleep preparing for the next day. The sounds of crickets and distant bird calls mark the flow of time in this new world. The river hums gently beneath the cool sky, its water now calm and certain, flowing steadily, its surface reflecting the stars as it moves onward. But despite the calm, there is a quiet readiness among the people. The work has never ceased, and the people have become used to the rhythms of the land. Even now, as night falls, they know that tomorrow's work is already ahead of them. And though it is hard work, there is something unspoken between them, a shared knowledge that this land will continue to provide, and so they will continue to give it their care, their time, their hands. The hard-earned peace they found here in the settlement is fragile, but it is strong enough to endure. The light of day returns gradually, casting the earth in gold and amber as the first rays of the sun break over the horizon. The settlement is still quiet, the warmth of the night still clinging to the ground and the structures. The birds are already awake, their songs rising in the air with the brightness of the morning. Their calls are sharp and clear, filling the early hours with life, and in the soft wind you hear the rustle of the trees stretching toward the sky. The people begin to stir from their homes, emerging one by one, stretching the sleep from their limbs, moving toward the tasks that await them. The earth, still moist from the previous night's rain, is rich beneath their feet. There's a sense of anticipation in the air, a feeling that today will be no different than yesterday, except that there's more to be done. The cycle continues. You watch the group of men and women head toward the fields, some carrying baskets, others with tools over their shoulders. The children, their energy never dimming, run between them, their feet light on the soft ground. Some help with the animals, others gather wood or bring water from the river. Their work is small but necessary, and they carry it out with pride. The scent of fresh grass, still damp from the rain, mixes with the aroma of dew-laden earth. There's a richness in the air, the smell of new growth, of things coming into bloom, and the sound of it. The wind brushing through the tall grass, the soft murmur of voices, the sound of the animals stirring, is a quiet symphony of a life lived in harmony with the earth. You join the others as they begin the day's tasks. The fields are ready for another round of work, planting, checking, and caring for the crops that have been carefully tended over the past months. The soil is soft, easy to work with, and the scent of it fills your nostrils as you dig your hands into the earth. There's something grounding about it, something that ties you to this place in a way that nothing else can. The men work the ploughs, the women are bent low in the fields, their hands moving quickly and expertly as they harvest the first crops. The early vegetables, carrots, lettuce, onions, are ready, and the smell of fresh food fills the air. You feel the pulse of the land beneath you, the steady rhythm of the work. The sound of tools ringing against the earth, of voices calling out to one another, of the laughter of children in the background. These are the sounds of life, of a world that is rebuilding itself from the ground up. The heat of the sun grows stronger, but there is still a coolness in the morning air that makes the work bearable. As the day stretches on, you feel the sweat on your brow, the fatigue settling in, but there is no thought of stopping. The work is hard, but it is rewarding. You know that the food you're gathering, the crops you're tending to, will be essential in the months ahead. This is the cycle of survival. The work done today will carry the people through to the next season. Later in the day, a group of men gather to discuss the next steps for the settlement. They stand around a makeshift table, a large flat stone, covered with papers and sketches, plans for expanding the settlement and the building of new homes. The sounds of their voices, calm, thoughtful, fill the air as they consider where to plant the next set of crops, how to distribute the food that has been harvested, and how to continue improving the structures that house them. The women, meanwhile, continue their tasks. The air is filled with the scent of fresh food, of herbs being chopped, vegetables being prepared for cooking. The cooking fires begin to burn, and the smell of roasting meats and baking bread rises, mixing with the sweetness of the fresh vegetables. It's the smell of a day well spent, of the land giving back to those who have cared for it. Children run to and fro, their laughter ringing out in the open spaces between the homes and fields. They gather in small groups to play, their games simple but full of energy. Some are chasing each other through the tall grass, others play at the river's edge, dipping their toes into the cool water. They're oblivious to the hard work being done around them. For them, the world is still a place of wonder, a place of endless possibilities. As the sun begins to set, the work slows, the pace easing as the people gather for the evening meal. The heat of the day fades, and the air cools with the promise of night. The smell of freshly baked bread, of roasted meats, and of vegetables fills the settlement, mingling with the damp scent of earth and grass. The fire pits are lit, their flames flickering brightly against the deepening sky. You sit among the people, your body tired but content. The air is filled with conversation, with stories shared and laughter exchanged. The children sit close to their parents, eating their fill and listening intently as the elders speak of the past and the future. The sounds of the evening, of the crackling fire, of voices in low conversation, of the animals settling into their pens mark the end of another day. The work of the past few months has brought the settlement to a point of stability, a point where survival is no longer a matter of uncertainty. The people have built something lasting. The earth, once harsh and unforgiving, has become a partner in their survival, and as the night settles in, there is a sense of peace, a quiet certainty that the work is far from finished, but that they are ready for whatever comes next. The next morning, the light comes gently through the trees, spreading a soft glow across the settlement. The early air is cool, laced with the scent of dew on the grass and the faint smell of the river as it continues its steady flow beside the village. The sky is clear, the sun bright and strong in its ascent, promising another full day of labour. The sounds of the settlement are already alive. Quiet voices, the rustling of tools, the chatter of children racing through the fields. The steady rhythm of life moves forward again, with no hesitation. The people, their bodies accustomed to the rhythm of the seasons, rise to meet the day. The men head toward the fields, their movements determined as they prepare the soil, checking for any pests that might have arrived with the warming days. The women gather near the cooking fires, preparing food from the previous day's harvest, and organising their work for the hours ahead. In every corner of the settlement there is the soft hum of activity, a life being built, moment by moment, with hands that have become strong from the work. The air is rich with the scent of fresh earth, damp with the moisture of the past night's rain. As the fields are worked, you can smell the delicate fragrance of young crops sprouting from the soil. The sun warms the earth, the smell of it deepening with the richness of growing things. You step into the fields, feeling the cool soil slip between your fingers as you check the progress of the plants, your hands brushing over the soft green of leaves, your senses filled with the life that is unfolding around you. Throughout the day, the work never slows. The men clear weeds from the rows, pulling them up by the roots and tossing them aside. The women move through the fields with baskets in hand, gathering the first of the herbs, the tender vegetables, the early fruits that have begun to ripen. The scent of fresh basil, rosemary, and thyme fills the air as they work. The sharp scent of mint and cilantro, mingling with the earthy sweetness of the soil. There is no rush, but there is urgency. The earth is alive, and it will reward the effort, but only if it is tended with care. The people work in unison, the quiet rhythm of their actions in harmony with the land itself. The sweat on their brows is not a burden, but a badge of their commitment to the land that sustains them. By mid-afternoon, the sun beats down with full strength, the heat of the day settling in. The people pause for brief moments, wiping their brows, drinking from the river, exchanging quick words of encouragement. The cool water of the river is refreshing against the skin, and the air is thick with the scent of it as the current moves smoothly past the settlement. The soft murmur of the river accompanies the steady work, a constant grounding sound that reminds everyone of the life-giving force that flows so close. The children are always near. Some play in the shallows, their bare feet splashing through the water as they chase one another, their laughter bright and carefree. Others work beside their parents, helping with the lighter tasks, carrying baskets, gathering herbs, setting up shelters for the coming harvest. Their voices are light, free from the weight of the day's labour, and the sounds of their play mix with the hum of the work around them. As the day begins to wane, the sun starts its descent toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the settlement. The air cools, but the work continues. The settlement itself, which once seemed small and fragile, has taken on a new strength. The houses, made from timber and thatch, stand sturdy and well built, their walls thick with the warmth of the fires that burn within them. The roofs, carefully maintained and reinforced, keep out the chill of the night. The people move in and out of their homes carrying baskets of food to the central gathering area, where meals will be shared and the day's work discussed. The fire pits are lit, their warmth spreading across the gathering space as the people sit down to eat. The smell of roasted meats, baked bread, and fresh vegetables fills the air, mingling with the sharp scent of wood smoke. The day has been long, but there is no weariness in the eyes of the people. They gather around the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering light, and they share stories of the past, of the hard journey they have travelled. They talk of the flood, of the destruction, but they speak of it not with grief, but with a quiet gratitude for the lessons it taught them. The flood may have taken much, but it has also given them the opportunity to rebuild, to create something more lasting, more resilient. As you sit by the fire, the warmth of the flames against your skin, you listen to the conversations around you. The voices are soft but filled with purpose. The future, though still uncertain, no longer seems as daunting. The people of this settlement have learned to adapt, to live in harmony with the land. There is no longer fear in their eyes. Instead, there is quiet determination. As night falls, the temperature cools further. The sky above deepens into a rich blue, the stars beginning to twinkle in the vast expanse above. The fire crackles and pops in the centre of the settlement, casting its flickering light across the faces of those gathered around it. The air is filled with the scent of burning wood and the earthiness of the land. The elders, their faces illuminated by the fire, speak of the old ways, the traditions passed down through generations. Their voices are low and steady, carrying the weight of years lived in harmony with the land. As they speak, you can see the reverence in the eyes of the younger generations. They listen not just for the history, but for the lessons within it. One elder speaks of a time when the people lived far from this settlement, in a world that was much more dangerous. We survived because we respected the land, he says softly. We understood its rhythms, its patterns. We never took more than we needed, and we gave thanks for everything it gave us. His words linger in the air, hanging like the smoke from the fire, a quiet reminder of the balance between the people and the earth. As the night deepens, the fire burns low, casting a soft glow over the gathering. The children, tired from the day's work and play, are gathered close to their parents, their eyes heavy with sleep. The adults too begin to settle into a quiet rhythm, their bodies still, their voices soft. There is no urgency in the air now, no rush to accomplish more. The day's work has been done, and now there is only the calm of the night to carry them through until morning. The world outside the firelight seems distant, almost unreachable. The settlement, tucked into the valley, feels like a small, self-contained world, one that is growing, adapting, and thriving. The land, once harsh and unforgiving, has become a partner in the people's survival. The flood, though still a memory, is no longer a threat. The settlement has become more than a refuge. It has become home. The cool night air carries the scent of the river and the land, mingling with the faint, sweet smell of the night-blooming flowers that have begun to open. The wind moves gently through the trees, rustling their leaves, carrying the sounds of the settlement into the quiet night. The distant calls of night creatures fill the air, but they are no longer a threat. Instead, they are part of the night's song, just another note in the melody of life that surrounds the settlement. With each passing season, the settlement grows stronger, more attuned to the rhythms of the land. The work is never done. There is always something new to be cultivated, something to be built. But the people no longer fear the future. They have learned to live with the land, to work alongside it, to give back as much as they take. The river, which once seemed to threaten everything, has become a constant, gentle presence in their lives. The crops, once fragile and vulnerable, are now sturdy and strong. The houses, built with care and attention, stand firm against the changing seasons. The community, bound by shared effort and respect for the land, continues to thrive. And as the seasons change again, the work begins anew. There are more fields to plant, more homes to build, more knowledge to pass down. The future is still uncertain, but it is no longer something to fear. It is something to shape, to mould, with hands that have learned the lessons of the past and the strength to carry them forward. The dawn arrives soft and slow, painting the world with strokes of amber and rose, casting long shadows across the land. The chill of the early morning air still hangs in the atmosphere, sharp and clean, filling your lungs with a crispness that feels like a promise. As the first light of the day creeps over the horizon, you can hear the birds beginning their songs, sharp, quick notes that cut through the stillness of the settlement, signalling the start of another day. The land, vibrant with life, stretches in every direction, the fields ready for another day of labour. The settlement is already stirring as the workers begin their daily tasks. The men head toward the fields with tools over their shoulders, their faces set with quiet determination. The women too are awake, their hands moving through familiar motions, gathering water from the river, gathering the morning herbs, preparing food. Their movements are steady and sure, and in them you can see the strength that has been born of seasons of hard work and sacrifice. The rhythm of life, steady and predictable, continues to echo through the settlement, matching the beat of the earth beneath their feet. As you step outside, the cool air brushes against your skin, and the earth beneath you still holds the dampness of the night. The scents of the earth fill your nostrils, the sharp, rich smell of wet soil, and the subtle sweetness of newly sprouted plants. The morning is fresh, alive with the promise of the day ahead, and it feels like the land itself is waking, stretching toward the sun. The fields are growing steadily, the crops now beginning to take form, their leaves reaching toward the sky as the sun rises higher. The first of the beans, the corn, and the vegetables are ripening. The earth seems to hum with the pulse of growth, and with each passing day, it feels as though the land and its people have come into harmony once more. In the distance, you can hear the soft rhythm of tools striking the earth, men working together to clear new plots for planting, their hands moving with practiced precision. The sound is steady, purposeful, as though the land itself is being shaped by the collective will of those who call it home. The crops are growing strong and healthy, a testament to the hard work and patience that has gone into tending them. The once empty fields are now full of life, full of promise. You walk through the rows of crops, the tall green stalks of corn swaying gently in the breeze, the soft rustle of leaves creating a calming backdrop to the work around you. The scent of fresh, warm earth surrounds you, the ground still rich and damp from the rains of previous weeks. There is a satisfying weight in your hands as you feel the stalks of beans and the soft fruits of squash and tomatoes. The earth, once so barren, now provides with abundance, and it feels as though the land is beginning to repay the care it has been given. The work continues throughout the day, steady and unyielding, but there is no sense of weariness in the people's movements. They work together with quiet confidence, the rhythm of their labour filling the air. The sun beats down as the day wears on, but it is a warmth that seems to energize rather than exhaust. The people have found their rhythm in this world, in this new beginning, and there is no hesitation in their steps. As the afternoon progresses, a soft wind picks up, stirring the air and causing the leaves to tremble and sway. The scent of earth, damp from the morning rain, mixes with the faint musk of sweat and the crisp tang of the wind. The sky, once clear and bright, darkens slightly, clouds rolling in on the horizon. There's a shift in the air, a momentary heaviness that promises more rain. It's a familiar sensation now, the waiting tension that builds when the earth is about to receive more nourishment. The people continue working, their movements steady despite the changing sky. There is no panic in their actions. There is only preparation, the understanding that the rain will come and that the land will welcome it, just as it has welcomed the people's efforts. The work continues even as the air becomes heavier, as the sky darkens and the first drops of rain begin to fall. The sound of the rain hitting the earth is soft at first, then gradually louder as the clouds open, filling the air with the rhythmic patter of droplets on leaves and soil. The rain falls gently, almost like a blessing from the heavens, a reminder that the earth will continue to provide even when the people cannot control the weather. The air smells rich, thick with the scent of moisture and growth, the fragrance of life rising from the damp soil. The rain begins to pour steadily, the once gentle patter turning into a torrent as the clouds above release their weight. The river swells slightly, its waters rising with the sudden rush of moisture. The people move quickly to secure what needs to be secured. Tools are brought inside, baskets covered, and the animals are herded into their pens. The settlement, though small, has been built with care and foresight. There is no fear in the air, just the quiet efficiency of people who have learned to live in harmony with the land. As the rain continues to fall, a soft hum settles over the settlement. The sound of the rain is soothing, a steady rhythmic pulse that fills the air and wraps around the people like a blanket. The fire pits are covered, but the warmth from the homes inside keeps the settlement comfortable. The people gather together, their voices low as they share stories by the firesides, passing down the lessons they have learned over the years. The rain outside only serves to deepen the sense of closeness, of connection between them. The children sit on the floor beside their parents, their eyes wide with wonder as the rain drums against the walls. They ask questions about the storm, about the flood, their voices tinged with both curiosity and a touch of innocence. The elders, their faces glowing softly in the firelight, share their wisdom, their voices steady and calm. "The flood taught us many things," one elder says. "It taught us to listen to the land, to understand it, to respect it. The land will always provide, but we must be careful to never take too much." The soft crackle of the fire and the steady rhythm of the rain outside fill the night, the sounds mixing together to create a sense of peace, of stillness. There is no rush, no urgency. The land has given, and it continues to give. The people have worked together, and in return they have created something lasting. The storm passes quickly, the rain subsiding as quickly as it came. The sky lightens, the clouds breaking to reveal a soft, pale moon. The air, now rich with the scent of wet earth, feels cool and clean. The river, swollen but steady, continues its course, its waters flowing with purpose, no longer a destructive force, but a life-giving one. The clouds part completely, leaving behind a sky filled with stars, their distant light piercing the darkness like pinpricks of hope. The people, having waited out the storm inside their homes, emerge once more into the night, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. The land, now slick and shiny with the rain, seems to pulse with life. The plants, having absorbed the water, stand taller, stronger, their leaves gleaming in the soft moonlight. The settlement itself seems to glow, the firelight inside the homes mixing with the silver of the moon, creating a soft, ethereal light that bathes the earth and the people. There is a quiet sense of accomplishment in the air. The storm has passed and the settlement is still standing, stronger than before. The people move through the village, their steps sure and steady as they check the crops, tending to what needs attention. The rain has only made the earth richer, and now, with the water absorbed, the plants seem to grow even faster, reaching up toward the heavens. The children, their energy not diminished by the storm, run through the fields, their laughter ringing out in the night air. They are full of life, full of wonder at the world they are learning to navigate. The people watch them, their hearts full of pride. These children, they know, will carry the legacy of their work forward, building upon what has been created. They will face challenges, of course, but they will also understand the rhythms of the land, the patterns of the seasons. They will know what it means to work with the earth, not against it. As the night wears on, the sounds of the settlement settle into a steady hum once more. The fire pits flicker gently in the cool night air, the soft rustle of the trees whispering in the breeze. The people gather close, sharing quiet words, exchanging stories of the past, of the lessons they've learned. Their voices are soft, but there is strength in them, strength born from the land and from each other. The rain, though heavy and sudden, has come and gone, and in its wake, the world feels more alive, more present. There is no fear here now, no lingering doubt about the future. The flood, which once seemed like the end of all things, has become a lesson in resilience, in adaptation, in finding strength even in the face of destruction. The people have rebuilt not just their homes, but their relationship with the land. They understand that the earth is not theirs to control. It is theirs to work with, to respect, to care for. And as the moon rises higher, casting its cool silver light over the settlement, you realize that the future, though still uncertain, is filled with possibility. The land will continue to give, and the people will continue to work. The cycle will repeat, the seasons will change, and the world will continue to move. And through it all, the people of the settlement will remain steady, like the river that flows through their land, carving its path with quiet determination. The dawn breaks with the same steady rhythm, the soft light of the rising sun stretching slowly across the landscape, colouring the fields in warm golds and ambers. The air is fresh and cool, tinged with the scent of damp earth from the overnight rain, the world still wet from the storm's passing. The river, swollen with the recent rains, moves steadily, its surface sparkling as the first rays of light touch it, a mirror reflecting the sky above. You can hear the soft rustle of the leaves in the trees, the delicate sound of nature stirring and waking, the land alive with purpose. As you step out into the morning light, the earth beneath your boots feels damp and solid, the fragrance of the freshly turned soil and the wet grass hanging thick in the air. The sounds of the settlement fill the space around you, voices calling to one another, the distant hum of tools striking against wood and stone, the low murmur of the river's water cutting through the valley. It is a familiar hum now, a steady rhythmic pulse that marks the passing of time in this new world. The people move through the settlement with a quiet confidence that has become a part of them. The children, their energy not dampened by the rain, run between the homes, their laughter like music on the breeze. They are full of life, full of joy at the newness of the world around them, and there is a lightness in the way they move, a carefree spirit that contrasts the hard work of the adults. Their hands are still small, but their tasks are becoming more intricate. They help gather firewood, bring water from the river, care for the animals. Each day they learn more, take on more. They are the future, and they're growing up in this new world, their eyes filled with curiosity, with wonder at the possibilities ahead. As the day progresses, the work continues, steadily, purposefully, with no sense of rush, only the steady effort of hands working together to ensure that the crops grow, that the fields are cleared, and that the homes are ready for the coming seasons. The air hums with the sounds of labour, the swish of hoes through the soil, the crackle of wood being cut and split, the rhythmic thrum of work that fills the space between breaths. There is no longer a sense of panic, of urgency. The people know what needs to be done, and they do it. The men and women move through the fields, checking the crops, adjusting the irrigation channels, making sure that the water flows evenly. The scent of freshly ploughed earth fills the air as the soft clink of tools is heard against the soil. The crops, still young but growing steadily, reach toward the sun with a purpose. Their leaves glisten with droplets of water, and the plants seem to pulse with life in the morning light. There is no greater satisfaction than seeing the work of the hands become something real, something that will sustain them through the coming months. The women move from task to task, their hands deftly preparing food for the day, sorting through the stored crops, mending clothes, and weaving baskets to carry the next harvest. The scent of cooking fills the air, mingling with the natural aromas of the earth and the faint smoke from the fire pits. The work is done with efficiency, each action blending seamlessly into the next, a smooth rhythm that reflects the harmony that has been built here. The soft murmur of conversation rises between the tasks, the voices of the people blending together in a quiet hum, like the sound of a river flowing slowly through the landscape. The river, once a force of destruction, now seems a gentle companion in the lives of the people. Its waters, though still deep from the recent rains, flow steadily, curving around the rocks, the smooth, calm surface broken only by the occasional ripple as fish swim through. The people use the river not just for water, but as a means of trade, of connecting with others beyond the settlement. The sounds of the river, the soft rush of water as it moves through the valley, become a constant grounding presence, an accompaniment to the rhythms of life. You stand at the river's edge for a moment, watching the water slip past, its surface reflecting the pale blue of the sky, the distant treetops bending gently in the breeze. The scent of fresh water and earth is thick, grounding and calming. There is something about the river's steady flow that brings a sense of peace, as though the land, the people, and the water are all working together in a shared purpose, each contributing to the rhythm of life in its own way. The children are often by the river, wading into the shallow edges where the water is still cool from the night's rain. They chase one another, laughing, their feet splashing through the water, creating ripples that shimmer in the morning light. Their joy is infectious, filling the space with a lightness that contrasts with the hard work of the day. They are a reminder that life goes on, that there is always a new generation to carry the work forward. As the day wears on, the sun climbs higher in the sky, its heat warming the earth beneath your feet. The work continues, but it is steady now, no longer urgent, but deliberate. The people move through the settlement with purpose, checking the crops, tending to the animals, securing the shelters. The rhythm of the day has become second nature. The people know what to expect and they know what to do. The land, which once felt foreign, is now a familiar companion, a force that they work with, not against. The children's laughter fills the air as they move between the homes, their footsteps light on the ground, their voices echoing in the spaces between work. There is no hurry in the air, no panic. The future is not something to fear. It is something to build. And as you look around at the people working, the life that fills this small settlement, you understand that the flood has changed them, but it has not broken them. It has made them stronger, more connected to the land and each other. They know what it takes to survive, and they know what it takes to thrive. In the evenings, when the work slows and the fire pits are lit, the air is filled with the scent of roasting meats, freshly baked bread, and the earthy fragrance of vegetables being prepared. The people gather around the fire, their faces lit by the warm glow of the flames. The hum of conversation rises in the night air, the sound of shared stories, of laughter, of quiet words of comfort and solidarity. The children settle at their parents' feet, listening intently as the elders speak of the past, of the flood, and of the lessons learned. The stories are not of despair, but of resilience, of strength. As the seasons shift, the landscape changes with them. The crops that were once small and fragile are now tall, sturdy, and strong. The earth is rich with the work that has been done, the sweat and labour of the people embedded in its soil. The fields, once barren, are now filled with life, the crops reaching toward the sky, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. The river flows steadily beside them, its waters now calm and dependable, a lifeline for the people who live near it. The sound of the river becomes a constant companion, its rush filling the background of the settlement's daily life. The people work, but they work with a quiet confidence now, knowing that the river is there to support them, to nourish them. It has become a part of the rhythm of their existence, a steady presence in a world that is always changing. The crops in the fields continue to grow, their green leaves reaching toward the heavens, promising a harvest that will sustain the people through the seasons ahead. The animals, once uncertain in their new pens, now roam freely in the fields, grazing on the tall grass that grows thick and lush. Their presence is a reminder of the balance that has been restored between the people and the land. The work that was once so difficult, so fraught with uncertainty, has become routine. The cycle of planting, tending and harvesting has become second nature, a part of life that is no longer something to be feared, but something to be embraced. In the evenings, as the sun sets and the first stars begin to appear in the sky, the people gather once more. The fire burns brightly in the centre of the settlement, its warmth a comforting contrast to the cool air that is beginning to settle in. The scent of wood smoke fills the night, mingling with the earthiness of the damp ground and the faint fragrance of the crops being harvested. The people sit around the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames, their voices low as they share stories, pass on knowledge, and make plans for the future. The elders speak of the past, of the flood that changed everything, but their words are no longer tinged with sorrow. Instead, there is a quiet pride in their voices. They speak of the work that has been done, of the strength that has been found in the people, of the future that is being built. And as the fire crackles and the night deepens, you realize that the flood, though it took much, also gave them something invaluable: the ability to rebuild, to adapt, to thrive. The future, though always uncertain, is no longer something to fear. It is something to be shaped, to be moulded by the work of their hands and the strength of their spirits. And in this new world, there is no fear. There is only the steady pulse of life, the quiet hum of survival, and the promise of what is to come. The days stretch on, their passage almost imperceptible, as the rhythm of life continues with a steady, unyielding pace. The settlement has grown into, itself, no longer a fragile community clinging to survival, but a place rooted firmly in the land, its foundation strong. The fields hum with the energy of growth, and the scent of fresh vegetation, of herbs and ripe fruit, mingles with the damp, rich smell of the earth. As the sun rises each morning, its golden light spills across the land, painting the world with warmth. The morning dew clings to the grass, its coolness refreshing against the warmth of the rising day. The animals, having adjusted to their new homes, are content, goats bleating as they graze in the morning light, chickens clucking and scratching at the earth, and cows slowly wandering through the fields in search of fresh grass. The hum of nature is constant, peaceful, but beneath it, the work of survival continues. The men and women of the settlement move through their daily tasks steady and deliberate, the sweat of their labour mixing with the cool air. The sound of tools, the scrape of hose against the soil, the occasional shout of a child running between the adults. These sounds fill the air, a soft symphony of life. The community has adapted to the land, shaping its environment to suit their needs. Where once there was fear, now there is the calm assurance that comes with work well done, with lessons learned and passed down. The harvest is near, and with it, a new sense of purpose. The crops in the fields are nearly ready, their green leaves now thick with ripening fruits, their roots well established in the soil. The earth, rich and moist from the recent rains, has become a companion in their work, nurturing the seeds planted with care. The sound of husking corn, the breaking of beans from their vines, the filling of baskets with the first of the harvest, all of it is a part of the same rhythm, the steady beat of life that has come to define the settlement. The seasons are shifting, slowly but surely, from the warmer, growth-filled days of summer to the cooler, slower days of fall. There is a crispness in the air now, a coolness that carries with it the scent of earth and decay, the scent of drying leaves, of ripened fruits waiting to be harvested, mingles with the faint musk of the animals in their pens. The heat of summer has given way to a subtle chill, the temperature dropping with each passing day as the earth prepares for the winter that lies ahead. The wind has changed too. It moves through the trees differently now, gentler, but with a whisper of the colder days that will follow. The people have already begun to prepare for the coming months, storing food for the winter, ensuring that the shelters are fortified against the cold. The tools are being sharpened, the firewood stacked high, and the homes are made ready for the chill. There is no fear in their preparations, only quiet resolve. The storm of the past is long behind them, and they have learned how to weather it, how to adapt to the world around them. The smell of freshly harvested crops still, warm from the sun, fills the air as the men and women of the settlement bring in the last of the fruits and vegetables. The fire pits are kept burning, the scent of wood smoke curling into the sky, mixing with the earthy aroma of freshly turned soil and ripened grain. The labour is intense, but there is no urgency. The people work steadily, aware that the work of the present will carry them through the months ahead. They have learned to respect the land, to work with it, and in return it gives them everything they need. The feeling of unity that has become the heartbeat of the settlement is stronger than ever now. There is no longer a sense of isolation, no longer the feeling that the people are living in fear of what the future holds. They are living in the present, working together to create something enduring, something that will last. The community is a tapestry, woven from the labour, the sweat, and the efforts of every individual who calls this place home. The adults work side by side, their movements synchronized as they tend to the crops, repair the homes, and prepare for the colder months. The sound of their voices rises in the air, but there is no frantic energy, just a calm, steady hum of conversation, of shared plans, of a future being built. The people have become accustomed to this rhythm, and though the work is never ending, it no longer feels like a burden. The land has provided, and they are working to ensure that it continues to do so, to create a cycle that will endure for generations. The children are busy too. They are no longer just the future of the settlement. They are part of it now. their small hands helping to gather, to carry, to assist in ways that, only a season ago, would have been unimaginable. They gather firewood, fetch water, and help in the kitchens, watching their parents with curious eyes as they learn the skills that will help sustain them through the coming months. The laughter of the children is a bright contrast to the labour around them, their voices ringing through the settlement as they run between the homes, chasing one another, playing in the spaces between work. They are full of life, full of wonder at the world around them, and there is an energy in their movement that spreads to those around them. The future is always uncertain, but as you watch the children you realise that there is hope in their eyes. They're growing up in a world that is different from the one their parents knew, but it is a world they will build upon, one that will be shaped by their hands, just as the world around them was shaped by the people who came before. As the day stretches into the evening, the pace of work begins to slow, the quiet hum of the settlement giving way to the peaceful stillness of night. The sun sinks low in the sky, casting long shadows over the fields, its last rays turning the world around you into a soft golden glow. The cool breeze of evening carries the scent of wood smoke, of fresh earth, and of drying grains. The people gather around the fire, their faces lit by the flickering flames, their voices low as they share the fruits of the day's work. The scent of roasting meats, baked bread, and fresh vegetables fills the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of the land. The night is cool, but the warmth from the fire seeps into your skin, and you can feel the weight of the day's labour slip away. The children, tired from their play, curl up by their parents' sides, their eyes heavy with sleep. The adults sit close, the crackle of the fire and the hum of conversation the only sounds in the night. There is a quiet peace here, a sense of completion, of satisfaction. The work of the day is done, and the people have come together to share in it, to give thanks for the food, for the land, for each other. The stars begin to appear in the sky, their light piercing the dark expanse above. The moon, full and bright, casts its pale light over the land, and the firelight flickers in the faces of the people, warm and soft against the cool of the evening. The stories are shared once more, the same tales of the flood, of the journey, but now they carry a different weight. They are not just reminders of what was lost. They are lessons in resilience, in survival, in the strength of the people who have rebuilt this world from the ashes of the old. The flood, though it changed everything, has become a part of the story, a chapter that has been closed and turned, and in its place a new story is being written, one where the land and the people work together, where survival is not just about enduring, but about thriving. As the night deepens, the fire continues to burn, its glow casting long shadows across the settlement. The people sit in quiet reflection, their minds at peace for the moment. The work will begin again tomorrow, but for now there is rest, there is warmth, and there is a quiet understanding that the future is as much about the work they do today as it is about the legacy they leave behind. They have learned to respect the land, to work with it, and in return it has given them everything they need to continue. The quiet hum of the settlement, the soft crackle of the fire, and the steady rhythm of the river fill the night with a sense of calm. The moon rises higher, casting its pale light over the land, and the people continue to sit in silence, sharing the peace that has been earned through their labour. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new work to be done, but for tonight, there is nothing to worry about. The world is calm, the land is at rest, and so the people settle into the night, their hearts at ease, knowing that the future, though still uncertain, will be shaped by the same hands that have worked to build this world from the very beginning. The stillness of the night deepens as the fire slowly burns down to embers, casting soft flickering shadows over the faces of those gathered. The wind has calmed, leaving behind the crisp, cool air of late autumn. The stars twinkle above, scattered like 1,000 scattered diamonds against the dark velvet sky. The moon, now high in its ascent, spills its pale, cool light across the land, creating a luminous silver sheen over the fields, the forest, and the river. As the people settle in for the night, the rhythm of the settlement slows. The work of the day is complete, but the sense of purpose remains. The wind stirs the treetops softly, carrying with it the scent of pine and damp earth. There is no restlessness in the air, only the quiet hum of contentment, the deep satisfaction that comes from a life lived in harmony with the land. The flames from the fire cast long shadows, the glow soft on the faces of the people, who sit in quiet reflection, the gentle warmth of the fire soaking into their bones. Children heavy with sleep nestle closer to their parents, their heads resting against their mothers or fathers. The hum of life continues, but it is a gentle hum now, as everyone prepares for the next day of work, a day that will bring with it new challenges, new triumphs, and new lessons to be learned. Morning arrives slowly, the light creeping over the horizon like a soft golden breath. The night's chill lingers in the air, though it is chased away by the warmth of the rising sun. The first rays filter through the trees, casting long shadows across the settlement, painting the land in soft hues of orange and amber. The scent of dew on the grass fills the air, mixing with the faint aroma of wood smoke from the dying embers of the fire. The day starts without hesitation. The people of the settlement begin to stir, the quiet of the early morning broken by the soft rustle of movement, the sound of tools being gathered, the creak of doors opening. The men and women who have risen early to begin the day's work step into the light of the morning, stretching their limbs, their bodies accustomed to the rhythm of daily labour. They're joined by the children, who have also risen with the sun, their energy already bubbling over as they run between the homes, laughing as they begin their daily tasks. There is no hurry, no frantic rush to get the day's work done. The people move steadily with purpose, knowing that the work must be done, but that there is no need to rush it. Each task, from checking the crops in the field to tending to the animals, is performed with a calm and steady rhythm, the flow of the day matching the flow of the land itself. The scent of the earth is rich, thick with the wetness of the dew and the moisture still lingering from the rainstorm the night before. The ground beneath your feet feels soft, still cool from the overnight chill, and the sound of your footsteps is muffled by the thick grass and damp earth. You take a deep breath, letting the fresh morning air fill your lungs, and for a moment you simply stand there, feeling the pulse of the land beneath you. The people work side by side without hesitation, each one moving through their tasks with a quiet determination. The men work in the fields, checking the crops, making sure that the irrigation channels are running smoothly, tending to the young plants that are still growing strong from the recent rains. The women, in turn, continue their work in the shelter, preparing the food, mending clothing, weaving baskets. There is no division between them. All are working toward the same goal. Their movements synchronize as though the rhythm of the land has become a part of them, as much a part of their bodies as the blood in their veins. The work continues through the morning, and as the sun climbs higher in the sky, the heat of the day begins to settle in. The earth, once cool and damp, now radiates warmth, and the scent of fresh soil is thick in the air. The crops in the fields sway gently in the wind, their green leaves catching the light of the sun, while the young plants are nurtured under the careful hands of the people. The sounds of labour continue, tools striking the earth, the rustling of leaves, the gentle hum of conversation that rises in the space between tasks. There is no hurry, no anxiety, only steady, consistent work. The land is alive with promise, the soft green of the crops mingling with the earthy tones of the soil. The smell of growing things, of ripening fruit, of fresh vegetables, of plants reaching toward the sky, is pervasive, and it fills the air with a sense of abundance. The world feels full of possibility, each passing day a new step toward a future built on the careful, patient work of the people. The land, once barren and harsh, now teems with life. It has answered the labour of the people, providing them with what they need to thrive, to grow, and to continue their work. You watch as the fields are carefully tended, the crops checked and nurtured with a practised hand. The men move through the rows, their eyes sharp as they look for signs of growth, of pests, of any danger that might harm the plants. The women too move through the land, their hands deftly picking herbs, trimming the plants, gathering what is ready to be used. They speak softly to one another, but their words are few. There is no need for conversation in the midst of this work. It has become second nature to them, an ingrained rhythm of their lives. As the afternoon draws to a close, the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, casting long golden shadows across the land. The temperature begins to cool, and the air, though still warm, carries with it the freshness of the evening. The people begin to gather near the fire pits, drawn together by the warmth and the promise of food. The fire, already crackling softly, illuminates the settlement as the first stars begin to appear in the sky above. The scent of roasting meats and freshly baked bread fills the air, mixing with the earthy aroma of the land. The children, exhausted from their day's work and play, sit near their parents, their eyes heavy with sleep as they listen to the stories being told. The elders, their faces glowing in the firelight, speak of the old world, of the lessons learned and the changes they have witnessed. Their words are slow and deliberate, heavy with the weight of experience. You listen as the fire crackles and pops, the warmth of the flames soothing your tired body. The night is cool, but the fire provides comfort against the chill. The people speak of the future, of the work still to come, of the crops that must be harvested and stored. But there is no rush, no urgency. The fire burns steadily, the light and warmth filling the space between them, creating a sense of quiet peace. The moon, now high in the sky, casts its pale light across the settlement, its glow reflecting off the river and the still waters of the fields. The wind stirs gently through the trees, the rustling of the leaves creating a soft, soothing sound. The world outside the firelight feels distant, almost unreachable, and for a moment you're content to simply sit and listen to the sounds of the people around you, to feel the warmth of the fire, and to know that the work of the past months has brought you here, into a world where the future feels less uncertain, less fragile. As the night wears on and the fire dies down, the people of the settlement settle in for the evening. The warmth from the fire still lingers in the cool air, but the soft sounds of the night begin to take over. The quiet whisper of the wind through the trees, the distant murmur of the river, the low rustle of the grass as the animals settle in for the night. You walk through the settlement, your feet light on the cool earth, the night air crisp against your skin. The homes, though simple, are sturdy, built to withstand the seasons, and their thatched roofs are well maintained. The sounds of the day have faded, replaced by the peaceful stillness of the evening, the air now full of the quiet comfort of rest. In the distance, you see the last of the work being completed, the final checks on the crops, the last of the grain brought inside, the animals carefully tended to before they are brought into their pens for the night. The work is never truly done, but there is no urgency now. The people know that the work of the day will continue tomorrow as it always does, but for tonight there is peace. The fire pit, now reduced to embers, glows softly in the night, casting its last flickers of light over the land. The settlement, once so small, now feels full of life, full of purpose. The quiet hum of the river, the whisper of the wind, the soft rustle of the trees, all of these sounds fill the air, wrapping the people in a blanket of calm. The fire burns low, its once fierce flames now soft embers, glowing warmly in the cool night air. The crackle of the wood is gentle now, a soft whisper in the silence that envelops the settlement. The scent of smoke lingers, wrapping around you like a soft blanket, the warmth of the fire still touching your skin even as it dies down. The night feels endless, quiet, a deep sigh from the world as it settles into its own rhythm. The sky above is clear, and the stars twinkle softly like scattered bits of stardust, their light pale and calm. The moon, a glowing orb in the dark, casts its silvery light over the land, painting the fields, the trees, and the river in soft hues of blue and white. The wind stirs lazily, moving through the trees with a faint rustle, carrying the smell of the night, damp earth, cool leaves, the scent of the river that flows gently beside the settlement. The world feels still, held in this moment, a quiet pause in time. The soft whispers of the land, the low hum of nature settling into itself fill the air. The sounds of the river are distant now, a gentle murmur in the background, like a lullaby from the earth itself. The rustling of the leaves is slow, deliberate, a soothing rhythm that matches the pulse of the night. As you sit by the last embers of the fire, you feel the warmth fading slowly, the heat of the day finally giving way to the coolness of the evening. The air around you is soft, almost weightless, as though the world itself is breathing deeply, preparing to sleep. The earth, the sky, the river, they all seem to sigh in unison, the stillness settling in like a soft, comforting blanket. The people of the settlement have gone to their homes now, their footsteps quiet in the dark, their voices muffled as they retreat to their shelters. The children, wrapped in warmth, are already nestled in their beds, their dreams carrying them through the peaceful night. The adults, too, slip into the quiet of their homes, their bodies ready for rest after the work of the day. All around you, the world is slipping into sleep. The soft murmurs of the night, the gentle wind, the rustling of leaves, the faint ripple of water become a lullaby. The soft thrum of the earth beneath you feels like the pulse of life itself, steady and calm, pulling you toward rest. The night is full of promise, full of the quiet beauty of what has been and what will come. There is no rush, no urgency. Time feels slow, unhurried, like the world has been given permission to simply exist in its most peaceful form. You close your eyes for a moment, the soft glow of the embers in your mind's eye, the warmth of the fire lingering like a gentle memory. Your breathing becomes slower, softer, matching the rhythm of the night around you. The world feels far away, yet close, as if wrapped in the quiet hush of the earth itself. Each breath you take is deep, slow, the cool air filling your lungs, carrying the scents of the land, the freshness of the evening, the stillness of everything that is and everything that has been. The soft sounds of the world outside become the backdrop to your thoughts, like a melody that drifts just out of reach but still fills you with comfort. The world is at peace, the land at rest, and you too feel the quiet peace that settles into your bones. It's the kind of peace that comes after hard work, after labour and sweat, after creation. It's the peace of knowing that the earth is in balance, that the rhythms of nature are steady, and that the work you've done, the work everyone has done, will carry on quietly, steadily, as it always does. The night wraps around you like a soft embrace, the warmth of the fire fading into the background as you let go of the day. The world becomes quieter, softer. The sounds of the wind, the leaves, the water, all blend together, a lullaby that carries you into the deep, gentle rest that waits for you. The embers of the fire flicker once more before settling into silence, like the last sigh of a long, satisfying day. You drift now, like the earth itself, into that space between wakefulness and sleep, where the world is quiet and full of promise. Your body relaxes, your thoughts slowing, as the night pulls you closer into its embrace. There is no more work to be done, no more need to be anything other than still in this moment, in this space where everything is at rest. The day has ended, and now the night is yours to float through, slow and effortless. The coolness of the night air kisses your skin, and with each breath you sink deeper into the peace that surrounds you. The sounds of the earth, the trees, the river, all seem to draw you further into rest, as if the land itself is guiding you towards sleep, toward a place where time feels suspended, and all that matters is the quiet beauty of the present moment. The fire is gone now, just a faint warmth in the air, and the sky above you is filled with stars glowing softly, each one a quiet reminder of the vastness of the world. The night holds no answers, only quiet, a slow drift into the depths of sleep. Your mind, your body, everything begins to fade as the world hums gently in the background, like a lullaby sung by the earth itself. You close your eyes, your body heavy and warm, surrendering to the stillness. The breeze is soft, carrying the scent of pine and earth, and the river hums quietly in the distance, a steady, calming rhythm. There is no hurry, no rush. The earth has done its work, and now it rests, and with it, so do you. The world becomes dimmer as you drift further away from wakefulness. The sounds of the land fade, and the warmth that surrounds you, the softness of the air and the peace of the moment pull you into deeper rest. The stillness wraps around you like a blanket, soft and comfortable, a space where nothing exists but the calm, the quiet, the deep embrace of the night. Sleep is not a place to be reached, but a place to be discovered. You do not have to go anywhere. The world holds you, and you simply surrender to it. The cycle of the day is done, and in the quiet of the night you rest. The fire is gone, the stars above still shining faintly, and you too fade into a dream of the earth, gentle, slow, and endless.